At this academy, only half survive into year 2, and just completing it is pure fortune. That's the reason why simply making it to the end in extra time isn't seen as victory. It's a marvel. On finish day 1, the professor's first test quickly erased all doubts. The challenge on finish or immediate expulsion without mercy. Panic swept the room as everyone faced rune puzzles far beyond their skill. One piece of paper then fell neatly in half, split as if by unseen forces. Christa Warden, the year's dazzling prodigy, watched her lone hope for success disappear. In her mind, Christa blames herself, unaware of any hidden hand at play. She suspects the wind, but is blind to the sabotage just wrought by another within the hall. Neighboring boy follows Mana traces, uncovering the origin of the disruptive magic. The magic used was wind, subtle, silent, and nearly invisible to the eye. The culprit, a blonde future star, posing with an innocent smile to fool the crowd. With only 8 minutes remaining, Christa rewrites everything she's lost, glancing at the clock. Her hands tremble as she races, tells Rhein to pass his answers, but he tucks his paper away. He warns her that the technique she's using won't deliver results in time. She wonders how he knows without trying. He calmly insists the work isn't hopeless yet. With her notes too much to complete, he quickly snatches the pen and begins scripting ideas. But before their plan unfolds, the blonde student rushes to be first at the professor's desk. That's Hubert Delay's close second and Rohum's pride, who covertly tore their test with air. He slams his answer sheet on the desk with the confidence of a certain winner. The professor answers with a spell, examines every detail, then gives faint approval, unimpressed. Solving this type of puzzle, he says, should take no more than 2 swift minutes. His response, grade C. Hubert protests, arguing he finished before everyone else. He insists his formula was flawless, just as the professor chooses to call the truth forth. He describes the wind spell, revealing he had seen everything the whole time. Hubert grows pale as Rhein approaches, calmly handing in the assignment. The professor chuckles, admitting regret they'd finished as he hoped to expel the pair. Rhein remarks, if a breeze stops your magic, you can't truly be called a mage. The professor abruptly grabs the assignment, noting the spell circle is incorrect. Not broken but unusual, Rhein used one fan-shaped symbol and one classic circle form. No one dares to do that, so the professor questions Rhein's reasoning. Rhein answers, it suits water magic. If runes match a simple equation, it accelerates casting. The professor is amazed a regular student even knows such an advanced detail. However, he notes that theory is one thing, achieving it is something else. Thus, he challenges Rhein to demonstrate it, beginning the spell. He expresses excitement to see Rhein's ego diminish as papers start to glow. Mana Star's radiance bursts forth and rain pours down. The class sits motionless indoors as the professor slowly gives his applause. He thinks back on instructing for 13 years and meeting countless prodigies, yet never once saw such an answer before. They received S grade, still unfazed. Rhein passes Hughes, saying, next time I won't overlook the issue. So how did a complete unknown humble the elite of 8 renowned academies on his first day? To reveal that, travel back 300 years to the Empire's tallest magical tower. There was Lynn, a detached youth, the first in history to reach 4 stars, an orphan neglected in a tower of endless tomes who never ventured out. His purpose was singular, achieve the 7th star and perceive the world's deepest truths. He remained closed off until a silver-haired girl interrupted, trying to catch his attention, mocking, provoking, dodging his magic, collapsing into books, prompting his first smile in years. She was called Esther, a warrior forged, altered for battles with a brief time to live. She faced her limited days not by retreating, but by gathering allies to protect the land first. Lynn wondered aloud if anything enjoyable existed in her cause. Meeting his gaze, Esther replied with a single answer, the world. He didn't join with heroics in mind, it was her mystery that truly drew him in. This group was unmatched, their skills nothing short of perfection in every aspect. Despite Lynn being the youngest, everyone could sense his rare and unmatched potential. See all those joyous smiles, yet deep down we know tragedy will soon cast its shadow. During the last battle, he was stricken by an abyss poison, deadly and uncommon. There was no remedy nor hope for a cure for something so fearfully rare. He didn't give in to despair, but engraved an immortality seal onto his own heart. Frozen in time, he pledged he'd return to Esther. The spell would only break when he healed. She grasped his hand and vowed to wait as he drifted into a cold, frozen slumber. He always sought the truths of the secret 7th circle, driven by curiosity alone. 3 centuries later, Rhein awakens in a new body, finds 4 statues of fallen friends, their death etched in stone, in a busy square. Rhein is far from ordinary. Achieving greatness was never luck or pure chance for him. He was the founder behind their formulas, revered as the Saint Mage but must hide the truth. After lessons, Christa called Rhein's name across the courtyard. He asked her reason. In a moment of shyness, she responded unsurely. With gentle seriousness, he requested her to repeat her gratitude, stating he hadn't heard it. Blushing, she insisted he not tease, emboldened that, although she owes him, they're rivals. As Christa pointed at Rhein, rumors spread nearby about Professor Owen awarding an S grade. Some say it's Hubert, others claim it's for Christa, which sounds right. On the paired test, it turns out Christa and that gifted scholar even work together. The next day, Rhein reminded Christa of her promise and questioned about girls' dorm floors. She guessed his room would be highest, thanks to his top score, and warned not to stand out. He retorted that promises matter, whether she tried to impress people or not. Annoyed, she raised her voice, telling him to wait just a little longer for repayment. As Rhein entered the dormitory, someone whispered he was the Elworth heir and class's top student. Pausing at a door, Rhein wondered if this could truly be his assigned room. Clutching the amulet, he unlocked and entered the room. After realizing it was a private chamber, nostalgia for the magic tower hit him as he approached the desk. He remembered being confined like this before, spending all his time practicing magic spells. Esther flashed through his mind as he lay down, thinking there wasn't much to do beyond the initial lesson. He considered trying to enter the Vatican for his remains, but his current identity made that impossible. He drew several magic circles to cast a spell, only to find, to his dismay, it wouldn't work. It turned out he still wasn't strong enough to use 4-star level spells. An owl swooped to his window so abruptly that it startled him to attention. The owl delivered a wooden box onto his window ledge. Ray, suspecting his father, examined the box, noting a missing center. He found 2 books inside, freezing as he recognized one as the diary he gave Esther. A moment later, his body shook with shock from the implications. Whoever mailed the package knew his true self. Meanwhile, Christa trained with the time device on the field. She sliced and battled monsters fiercely as each second slipped by. Timing her friend commented there was time left and asked if something nice happened. Christa said nothing new was up and wondered why, while her friend said she seemed unusually cheerful and with less time now asked if it was thanks to Rhein. She speculated aloud if Christa had a moment with Rhein, making Christa flustered. Christa, frustrated, said she just needed to blow off steam from seeing Rhein all the time, nothing more. Looking sharp, her friend remarked Christa's words weren't fooling anyone. Her friend guessed the gossip about Christa being aided by Rhein during the test was true. This surprised her, since Rhein had seemed entirely different when they were children. Meanwhile, in the dorm's main hall, the blonde youth strode through the corridor. Someone greeted him mockingly as the old C-grade loser upon passing by. The rest didn't react, for everyone had gotten used to that sort of remark from him. Hubert turned to the man, warning that bothering him could lead to regret in the morning. Logan mocked him and told him to chill when he learned a student received a C. He nearly burst out laughing, saying Christa had earned S rank despite burdens, but Hubert ignored him and walked away. As Hubert left, Logan questioned if Rhein was truly as timid as claimed, admitting Rhein still outshone Hubert. Without facing Logan, the blonde remarked that brains suited him more than muscle, demanding if it was a challenge. Logan sneered and replied that he absolutely was issuing a challenge. While sparks flew, a red-haired woman interrupted, barely pausing her reading to remind them others were present. She was Lillian, a postgrad at the academy, and Logan assured her not to be bothered. He claimed it was all just humor and that he was plotting against Christa and Rhein, inviting Lillian to join. Unimpressed, Lillian remarked his stunted magic was from harassing the weak, which brought no reward. Hubert interrupted, announcing he would personally deal with Christa and Rhein. Turning to warn the other guy that any reckless interference would lead to his quick defeat, Hubert slams the door and the remaining guy calls Logan a fool. He strikes the wall in frustration, wondering what Rhein had done. Rhein had spent 3 years as Professor Scalzi's assistant, truly earning it. That level of achievement seemed impossible without any rankings at all. Meanwhile, Rhein was in his room reading the newly delivered book. The first section covered Lynn's story, while the rest described magic and techniques Lynn had utilized. Rhein found it puzzling. Despite knowing his true identity, whoever sent this never directly contacted him, and now it was past 11 p.m. He decided to switch off the lights before the housemaster arrived as he reached for the switch. Glancing at his book, Rhein recalled the child who had been tailing him previously. Suddenly, Arudian sprang from the book. Rhein, shocked, recognized ancient ruddy magic twice as grand as his own creation. He was awed by its 3-century endurance, pondering its creator and purpose, as Rudian settled near him, updating his magic research at 37%. A vast new window opened before him. Rhein was stunned. It was his abandoned research, designed to reach true sagehood. Also, there were the same 12 original rooms he trialed in combat 3 centuries before. He thought they'd all failed, yet surprisingly they're already at 37%. However, it puzzles him since that seems impossible for a 4-star spell, making him wonder how Rudium could even track the progress of a 6-star spell. He smiles and shrugs, deciding that if this is all truly happening, his chosen path was not misguided. If he keeps on, he's sure he'll eventually uncover the real truth. That spark of new hope makes Rhein clean forget about discovering who delivered the mysterious book. He slips on his robe, deciding this is the moment to launch a fresh round of research. Heading outside the dorms, he is unexpectedly greeted by a downpour of rain. Unlike the chilly north, rain in the southern lands stays warm due to mountains breaking the chill. Rhein, softly humming, walks through the warm storm until he wonders if there could be a place to practice magic freely. A green-haired woman says, "For true practice nothing is better than a battlefield, let me show you." The dorm supervisor explains the battlefield is vast for training fierce spells and completely safeguarded by superior protection and healing magic, ensuring you can unleash spells without a care. She explains entry just requires him to place his student ring on the surface. Touching it, the firewall parts, the system greeting him and announcing 30 vacant rooms await use. With a farewell, she tells him to make use of the available training spaces as he wishes. Rhein selects room 15, the system responds positively and suddenly he's inside an empty chamber. Rhein asks for a sturdy target, prompting a monster to rise from the room's floor. Seeing it's a 2-star creature, Rhein remarks that's manageable for him. Unfolding the book, he begins with the U rune, but the triangular structure crumbles immediately. Observing that the 1-star spell failed, he simply closes his hand again. Opening his hand once more, Rhein invokes a spell using 3 triangle runes this try. Pressing his fist to his palm as if using alchemy, Rhein causes a small, sharp bang. The monster remains unaffected by the spell, leaving Rhein increasingly disappointed. Watching from afar, Hubert doubts what sort of inadequate magic Rhein attempted. Guessing it's weak magic, Hubert notes the spell is feeble and soundless, far from true flame magic's power. Hubert then dismisses the tale about Rhein being Scalzi's assistant as a likely fabrication. Channeling his magic, our hero pressed on until the monster fractured, broke, and fell down. The boy exhaled a long breath, saying the attempt hadn't succeeded. With Yu's flame slipping in and melting the inside, he hoped to achieve this on the golem, but it required much time. He considered whether refining the symbol or adjusting the mathematical concept would help. With a wry smile, Rhein felt assured he still had ample time to resolve the puzzle. Despite many failures, Rhein maintained confidence that he would find the solution. Persisting with his tests, our hero made adjustments to the rune design. Rudian sensed surrounding magic and gave a full summary of the day's studies. Truly a priceless aid, and at that point our protagonist spotted something peculiar. He noticed a 0.1% rise in research progress and pondered whether it came from theory or the improved rune. He thought there could be deeper meaning to the practice, but set aside the idea for now. With plenty of time remaining, a sudden gale caught his attention. It was Hubert, probably a new recruit from Delayan Academy. A milling of bats formed around the bright-haired newcomer. When one bat lunged, he smashed it with a punch, scattering it into fragments. Acting quickly, the boy dispatched the rest. The remaining bats met the same swift end. Rhein respected what he saw, sensing Hubert was quite capable and worth following. But then something odd in Hubert's footing drew the protagonist's attention. At the academy, a professor outlined the key steps for casting spells. There were 3: the initial circle, inscribing runes next, then executing the math calculation. The third stage baffled many mages since any miscalculation at any step could spell disaster. To prevent tragic accidents, the Archmage Lynn invented a formula named Lynn's discriminant. He instructed them to solve a sample using Lynn's discriminant, granted them 10 minutes, and teased that it was simple enough for everyone. With the timer set, Rhein wondered who introduced that formula since he alone knew it, and his classmates couldn't work math at all. Their skills didn't go beyond basic addition or subtraction. None among them could have shared the concept, except maybe Tina, an eager girl who called herself his student. The hero guessed the kid called it Lynn's formula, but dismissed it since Lynn lived centuries ago. At that moment, Chris lunged at him, as Rhein calmly asked if she needed help and urged her onward. She bristled, finding it insulting that someone questioned the skills of Christa Warden, genius. Suddenly, the professor's glare was chilling, so she promptly apologized, vowing not to interrupt again. Asked for her vowing not to purpose as she interrupted again, nervously handed him an ornate box. Noticing the fancy box, Rhein inquired about it and Christa explained it contained cookies. She shared they were cookies made during rare breaks from her magic coursework. Rhein tried to ask the reason, but Christa insisted she owed him, and when he opened the box, Rhein discovered cookies charred black. Christa babbled nervously. Rhein questioned whether she'd truly call those things cookies. Christa confirmed it, so Rhein joked about her baking with mud, causing her frustration. The professor hurled an object her way, abruptly silencing Christa. One student praised Lynn for inventing such an incredible formula, so Rhein felt overwhelmed by all the flattery. Some even believed the mage was an angel reborn, and Rhein, blushing, wished their praise would quiet. Christa questioned why Rhein blushed, thinking maybe cookies made him bashful, believing that despite his confidence, humility dwelled within him. A teacher approached, noting she did well for someone who skipped class and invited her to a special lesson. Rescued by the sound of the bell, the teacher announced that it was time to submit their work. When viewing the club list, Christa asked which one Rhein intended to join. Christa declared she'd join magic volleyball to uphold her magical heritage, though she only learned about it recently, causing Rhein's surprise. Raymond questioned the related dignity, interrupted her response to ask about some object, made her upset and left to see other clubs. The Lighten featured many groups aimed at student exchange and friendly contests. Their main purpose is exchange, with clubs such as combat magic, fire techniques, and festive arts. Clubs consist of like-minded students, funded when teachers allow, which nurtures focused research. Rhein longed to visit several clubs, but Christa's persistence made concentrating impossible. She kept urging Rhein to join magic volleyball, insisting his magical lineage demanded it. Rhein replied even if that were so, it wouldn't matter as his father respects his choices. Christa's friend insists that the volleyball club is honest and Rhein should join for the magic bloodline. Rhein says it's not needed, that he prefers the magic sculpture club or even the magic development club. Ray recalls how people once struggled to survive, but over time peace let everyone chase their dreams. Esther used to dream that he'd grow up to see a thriving world, hoping Lynn would protect lives. Gertrude, seeing Rhein lost in his own thoughts, calls out to see if he is listening at all. Suddenly and silent, Rhein simply starts walking off without saying a single word. When asked where he is headed, Rhein replies that he's going to visit the local magic development club. Gertrude, confused, wonders if Rhein knows magic volleyball is central to Holy Mage gatherings. Sighing, she remarks it looks like the long rivalry between Elwick and Page families ends with Rhein. She realizes that the eldest Page daughter vanished after an event, and now the Elwood family is gone too. Hostility gleaming in her eyes, she declares this an ideal time for Christa to start her own era. But when she looks for Christa, Gertrude realizes the girl is already nowhere to be seen. In disbelief, she wonders if Christa has secretly gone after Rhein. Just as Gertrude guessed, Christa tails Rhein, saying she's curious about the Magic Development Club. As they arrive, Rhein hears a heated dispute from inside right before he opens the door. The boy refuses the proposed arrangement. The other insists that strength wins by club custom. The calm, arrogant one, Logan, tells the other boy to hand over their club room. Ray asks about him and Christa explains he's Logan, a Chihak Academy junior, surprised he doesn't know. Rhein repeats the school and Christa sighs, calling it a martial arts school as Logan taunts his opponent. Logan sneers at the club, saying such groups do not matter, especially the local development club. Watching closely, Christa says room battles happen often, as new clubs must compete to get spaces. Rhein assumes it's settled by duels and Christa confirms, saying it's a simple, fair approach. Then teasing, she asks if he'll sign up as Rhein says he avoids anything too troublesome. Returning to the debate, the boy insists magic isn't just for number crunching or discoveries. Logan presses further and the boy explains that achievements mattered, but magic could fix deeper issues like poverty if used in farming or disaster aid. Logan snaps that magic alone won't fix this, while the kid insists the club's purpose is to help people now so he can't just hand it over. Logan laughs out loud, asking if the kid is joking because if it were possible the top majors would have done it. Logan clenches his shirt and demands to know how the kid can hope to change anything if he can't defend the club. Logan mocks the upperclassman's lack of achievement, leaving the kid speechless and unsure how to reply. Pressing on, Logan questions his belief in that research, saying his hesitation proves it must not matter much. Logan suggests the kid should help the person right in front of him, remarking that his fear is obvious by the way he can't even look up. Logan taunts him for barely being conscious, deciding he must wake him up and prepares to slam the kid, until Rhein intervenes with a lightning spell. Rhein, holding a magical aura, proposes they duel with magic if Logan really wants a challenge, not just victimizing outsiders. Logan turns to Rhein, trying to figure out the newcomer's identity. Rhein, seeing his confusion, clarifies that he's just joined the club. After a lengthy effort, their progress had gone from 37.1% up to 37.9%. Rhein wonders aloud if magic can truly achieve everything, since not all things are possible. Some things will always be beyond magic, but it might at least bring water where none exists. He recalls Esther's request for simple spells to aid others, reflecting on helping strangers and easing hardship. Logan watches the unexpected newcomer, Rhein, with open animosity. Logan quickly changes demeanor, remarking, "So, you're the newcomer," as something catches his attention. He sees Christa behind Rhein and recognizes the kid's familiar red eyes. Logan comes closer, remarks the kid's words were foolish, then laughs it off as his tendency to speak before thinking. Staring at the new kid, he claims he was really about to greet him, and double-checks if the magic duel was actually suggested. Logan, proud, demands if he heard right. The protagonist answers calmly that it was no mistake. Logan catches on and claims if Rhein is truly that bold, perhaps he deserves a match. Logan laughs, doubting Rhein's ability to win against him. Rhein smirks and questions Logan's bravado, offering not to use magic and use only 3 of the club's spells if needed. Surprised, Logan asks Rhein if he's actually being serious. Rhein assures him while Logan retorts that this is foolishness, then brings up the rule that new members need 3 days for approval. At that moment, it was just a personal dare as Rhein urged Logan to stop stalling and speak up. Facing the club head, Logan claims if Rhein wins, he'll surrender that room and handle all intruders himself. Yet if Logan's victorious, the kid must drop out and Logan laughs, wondering why Rhein always feels like an unbridgeable gap. Right then, Christa enters, objecting to such a skewed deal. Tired, Logan tells the nosy crowd off as Rhein also warns Christa not to meddle. She questions if Logan even understands what's really happening at all. Rhein locks eyes with Logan and claims he doesn't need to understand since he's certain of victory. He tells Logan to name a time, insisting he's ready. Logan grins, agreeing and promises a teacher will referee. Saying there's no need to delay, Logan schedules the duel in the Dragon Blood Arena that day at 6, passing the stunned Christa and announcing he'll be waiting. As he left the halls, Logan Logan mused he'd finally hit the jackpot, sure to please the principal and elders. Logan sensed greatness ahead, while Christa called Rhein irresponsible for entering a magic duel. Flipping open a book, Rhein blandly replies, reminding her he's just a university freshman. She seriously urges him to stop acting reckless. Rhein shrugs her off, piling more books in his arms. Turning away, Christa declares he can make his own choices and that worrying for him is foolish. Watching her go, Rhein ponders on what could have made Christa so upset. Standing up, the club leader says it's strange Rhein would act, because those from magical lineages avoid duels. Rhein notices the leader has a dragon Rhein despite being a second year, asks why he thinks that and sets his suspicion aside. The leader states there's greater risk than reward and confesses he's unsure why Rhein helped him. Rhein replies it wasn't intended, just a promise kept. The guy looks baffled but says he's grateful. Still, he feels Rhein may be taking Logan lightly. Rhein then wonders aloud if Logan is really so renowned. The guide explains Logan's reputation as a master strategist and mage, skilled in distance magic. Additionally, Logan holds an impressive record, winning over 90% of his duels. Sitting, the nerd notes Rhein's act was reckless due to careless words and maybe overblown quarrel over the small club. Adjusting his glasses, the nerd explains villagers pooled funds so he could enter the academy. He dreams of making the village a better place in return and hopes to repay them someday. This desire led him to the club, prompting him to dedicate himself to his magical studies. Yet nothing proceeded as he had wished, anxiety mounted and he clinged on, only to gain nothing. He wonders aloud if it isn't pitiful, confessing it almost feels as if destiny urges surrender. With a tense chuckle, the leader rises, declaring he's the sole competitor for the duel. Rhein interrupts sharply and serious questions what is truly pathetic about all of that. Grabbing a book, Rhein reminds him he accepted the duel and asks permission to borrow magic books. Leaving the room, Rhein promises a quick return and asks if he knows why Lynn pursued magic. The leader, perplexed, asks the reason and Rhein replies, survival was her only motive. Then he explains that everyone has their own reason to chase after magic in the beginning. Through hushed whispers, Rhein walks university corridors, drawing silent speculation all around. He realizes quickly the tale is spreading wider than he ever thought it would. Just then, a voice calls out, happy to have finally caught up with Rhein at last. Turning about, Rhein sees Ellen, flushed with exhaustion, worrying if he's all right. He greets her warmly, but before he can speak, she automatically traps him in a friendly armhold. Ellen confesses she's lost sleep over him, asks about the duel, seeking confirmation. With honesty, Rhein affirms she's heard correct and the rumor is genuine. Her tension releases into laughter. She says her nephew has caused havoc and now she needs a drink. Rhein shouts from the grip, and she comments that Logan's strike would hurt more, mocking his reaction. With a soft sigh, Rhein, unhurried as always, asks if she felt concerned for him. Spinning, she demands if she looks weak, insisting he not assume she worries, teasing his forehead. She remarks he'll finally learn when Logan gives him a real lesson. As Ellen turns to go, Rhein apologizes, saying he hadn't realized he crossed any lines. Nevertheless, he vows firmly that his actions will never dishonor their family name. His aunt tells him his deeds now hold the family's honor, and in the worst outcome, shame or expulsion might follow. Even so, she admits frustration lies more with those who mocked him, not with him. Confidence in her tone, she reminds him the family legacy is his to defend, so no rivals can hope to equal him. Inside the arena, they fix each other with intense, unwavering gazes. Rhein thinks back to his aunt's advice, realizing this might have been his intent all along. Meanwhile, excitement spreads through the school as everyone rushes to see the duel. After all, an insignificant noble confronting the chain-wielding powerhouse drew a crowd. While the male teacher observes, a female colleague asks which competitor he favors. Is it Logan from her side, or does he support Rhein, his own protege? He replies that he values neither background, heritage, nor education at all. He simply sides with the strongest, making her laugh as she admits she expected that from him. The duel's officiator steps in and introduces himself as Theon. With the duel endorsed by the Academy, the defeat means the loser obeys the winner's conditions set forth. After this declaration, he orders the competitors to approach the center of the arena. With plenty of bravado, Logan tosses his cape away while Rhein glares with utter disdain. Some murmur Logan obviously came well prepared, questioning if it's much for a disgraced noble. As Christa observes, she startles when Gertrude comes to stand beside her. Gertrude remarks, so this is where she anxiously disappeared to. Christa insists she's not worried and just showed up to watch Rhein take a beating. Gertrude grins knowingly. Elsewhere, a teacher ponders that slow spell casting makes new mages vulnerable, so aggressive close fighters can overwhelm them. He's interested to see what the young boy will do about this struggle. Everyone, teacher included, is startled as Ray pulls a broom from beneath his cloak. Logan remarks that he assumed it was a staff, but realizes instead that it's a broom. People joke loudly, taunting him for showing up apparently ready to clean the arena. Christa hides her face mortified as the referee asks about the object and Rhein replies he borrowed it from the library. Fortunately, cleaning had just ended. Haughtily, Logan suggests the kid is pleading for leniency. Only hours ago the boy had seemed assured, yet now he arrives wielding nothing but a broom. Logan, the brawny mage, tells Rhein to yield now and avoid even greater humiliation. Rhein teases Logan, since when did Major think victory could be claimed with clever talk? Angered, Logan steps closer but the referee hurries to halt him, calling him too near. The judge promises to confirm the rules just ahead of the upcoming duel. A defeat for Logan means guarding the local club relentlessly until he graduates with his class. Should Rhein lose, his punishment is to leave Delayan for good. The judge seeks final agreement, stressing there can be no challenge after his verdict. They both nod at once and Theon says, "Get ready to start," casting a spell to signify the duel. Everyone hurries to join the crowd as the duel countdown, fueled by magic, begins. Ellen's assistant offers to take over so she can watch, but Ellen calmly refuses to go see. The girl observes that Ellen feels oddly serene and Ellen, a bit irritated, clarifies she can stay calm, making her assistant fumble back in defense. Ellen looks out thoughtfully and wonders if Rhein is indeed the host for a sage spirit. She comments confidently there is no suspense left since the result has long been guaranteed. With the countdown ending, the judge announces the duel can now truly begin. Logan, behaving arrogantly, rips away his bandages and boasts Rhein won't see him after today. He activates his school's hidden skill, muscles surging and lines marked a chamber on his chest. Watching impressed, Hubert admires Logan's speed since failure could injure bones or organs. The instructor muses it's clear why this young talent shines among the best at school. Gripping his broom in calm, Rhein faces Logan's pursuit as the boy vows he'll finish this round. Every onlooker stares shocked, while Rhein doesn't even flinch in place. As Logan moves, he claims Rhein can't escape his barrier spell, which bursts at impact for attack or defense. It's unstoppable, nothing awaits but crushing the challenger. Yet Rhein's broom spins and bats away the crashing blow as Logan attacks. Logan panics in that instant, getting struck in turn by another whirling sweep from Rhein's broom. The impressive blow throws Logan across the air as the audience is left speechless. The professor wonders if he just witnessed the rare staff move from Warrior School. 3 centuries ago, Lynn's renowned technique brought Osiris among the top 8 schools. Mages needed close combat abilities and it's whispered the heroine Esther helped create it. The professor is eager to know how the Elwig heir mastered it. Suddenly, something catches the blonde teacher's eye, leaving her stunned. The broom remained intact, despite usually shattering on reinforced bodies from such a strike. She suspects magic, pondering who this remarkable child could truly be. Rhein dominates, sparking wild excitement as everyone discusses Logan's defeat. Logan makes an effort to rise, but suddenly coughs up blood. He is shocked, his own reinforced moves ruined by a so-called minor noble with a broom. The protagonist peers down, repeating Logan's own words about ending it quickly. Rhein tells him, saying it's no pleasure to beat up a junior, so he'll wrap it up soon. He takes a ready stance, challenging Logan to attack him with everything he has left. Furious, Logan stomps hard, breaking arena tiles and disturbing Rhein's balance. Logan kicks rocks at Rhein, but he deflects them easily with the broom. When Rhein glances up, Logan has vanished from his sight. Spinning around, Rhein casts a spell and blocks a sudden blow coming at his back. Unexpectedly, Logan appears overhead, already preparing his next attack. Logan pounces with a flying kick, dust clouds rise, and the leader watches in concern. Within that swirling dust, we spot Logan slowly sinking into muddy ground. Perplexed, he soon hears Rhein explain it was just a simple spell designed for plowing. Turning, Logan sees the kid on a pile of rocks, saying the spell once kept out floods. With a smile, the protagonist asks, doesn't that seem quite practical after all? In the crowd, many were shocked or amazed, yet others admired Rhein's clever spells. The teacher thought standing aloft kept Rhein safe with vision. Clearly, Rhein foresaw Logan's move, changed the earth, and trapped him. As Rhein dominated, almost everyone considered the outcome completely settled. Then from atop the rocks, Rhein tossed away his broom, leaving everyone totally stunned. Even Logan was taken aback by that action, lifting his gaze in complete confusion. Christy shouted at the boy, demanding why he didn't just finish things with a ranged spell. At that second, Logan, mired in the mud, began to muster up his remaining energy. As the broom dropped, he shot forward like a bolt, shattered it, and charged Rhein with a fist. Yet just as Logan was set to strike Rhein, huge tree roots conjured by our hero stopped him. Everyone was amazed by a spell that revived withered plants, and Logan realized why the boy broke the branch restraining him when tossing the broom. Rhein stated he'd kept his promise by using only 3 spells and asked if they should end it now. Facing defeat, Logan cursed, refusing to accept such a shameful loss he couldn't allow. He began contorting and fighting against his bonds in an effort to escape. Seeing this, our main character wondered if he'd exaggerated the level of his magic. He said maybe the vine's stickiness was due to its nature, and to leverage its strengths, control needed further refinement. Rhein observed Logan apparently in pain, but calmly reassured him that it wouldn't last. Soon he'd feel relief. With the branch in hand, our hero feigned thrusting it toward Logan's eye. But at the final instant he pulled away, turned aside and simply tossed the branch away. Angry, Logan demanded an explanation since he'd wanted to finish things, but Rey declared the fight over before he could protest. With Logan defeated, Rhein said he should stop talking and pointed out now Logan knew how it felt to be struck. He advised Logan to mend his ways and avoid causing more harm going forward. Then, releasing the platform, our protagonist let Logan, trapped and humbled, see true mercy for the first time. As the fading magic lingered, Rhein remarked that the spell had lasted long and was really practical. A wave of boredom reminded our hero of the need to formally end the duel first. The rules required either surrender or total collapse for the match's conclusion. As Logan fell, Rhein followed up with a precise gust of wind magic. With smoke curling from his finger, the boy stated the fight's result was decided well before, so it wasn't a real attack. Rhein turned his eyes to the judge, waiting for the final verdict to be delivered. Taking the radio in hand, the judge declared Rhein of the Elwick family the clear victor. The instant the victor was named, the crowd erupted into ecstatic cheers. Christa, anxious before, now wore a bright smile lifted by relief. Rhein looked back and saw someone making their way toward him, resting on the wall. It was the club leader expressing deep gratitude and unsure how to ever repay Rein's generosity. Our hero asked what kind act he meant but cut in to praise the leader's spirited efforts regardless of perfection. He assured him that every effort made had meaning and should not be dismissed as wasted. Having perhaps spoken overly much, Rhein apologized and inquired if he might ask for a favor. With a gentle smile, he requested that the club leader foster enough new spells so Rhein would no longer be necessary. Confident in him, Rhein left as the leader wept, thinking about what Esther's advice would have been. Rhein decided such thoughts should soon be set aside. Since he wasn't Esther, he still wondered if he held some dignity, as Logan awoke to whispers of the battle. Such a noble surpassing a prodigy like Logan was a rare, almost unbelievable event. Rising brings Logan a fierce headache, as a stern professor asks about disgracing their school's name. Sweat beading, Logan tries explaining and nervously calls the professor his big brother. Grinding his teeth, the professor demands that Logan address him only as professor here. Startled, Logan quickly apologizes for the slip. Professor exhales and suggests Logan rest for a while. Anxiously, Logan notes a break could lead to the elders turning their anger on his brother. Turning away, the professor urges Logan to quit acting like a prodigy just for others' sake. Voice trembling and eyes down, Logan replies no as the professor inquires about Scalzi Luick. The professor shares that Rhein spent 3 years as Scalzi's assistant, stunning Logan into silence. He adds that if heartless Scaly kept Rhein 3 years, then Rhein's abilities must be top-notch. Logan, angry and proud, rejects the idea of a firstborn not being the best and spurns his brother's words. He vows to defeat Rhein next time and the professor calls him foolish, saying stubbornness endures even after such a loss. He asks why Logan deems Rhein shameful as Logan lost yet was graciously spared. Still, if that's his belief, so be it. As the professor leaves, he urges him to honor the bet and Logan consoles himself, insisting his brother hadn't intimidated him but that his silence was merely respectful. Moments before the duel, Rhein sat in Delton's grandest library, 50 minutes to the match. He found it strange Lynn's life story and journals had suddenly ended up with him. He asks the attendant where he could locate similar books to the ones he received. Then, without a word, she promptly offers him 2 other books. One covered Kai's The Archer's Feats and the other The Fire Dragon Priestess Freedy. The sight recalls the wager with her. With a clever grin she dared him, saying, "Let's see whose story would fill more pages." Lynn dismissed her, questioning why he'd care about someone else's rankings for their stories. The maze taunts him, hinting he's afraid because the bet is against famed Priestess Freedy. Acting impulsively, he quickly agrees, claiming the result was obvious anyway. Esther, pausing her sword practice, tells the group that if it's a wager, her bet is on Lynn. Frey asks Esther about her unwavering support for Lynn, and Esther insists it's the clear bet. When Lynn queries why, Esther smiles and replies she has several reasons for choosing him. Doubtful, he presses further, and finally Esther reveals her actual motive. She explains her short bloodline means her life will end soon. Kai's was the eldest and likely next, and Free's circumstances were similar to his. Lim's youth promises he might outlast them all and have the most chapters written. Even though their future was unknown, she wishes to see Lynn's life story completed one day. Holding the book, Lynn reflects on the irony that he actually died before everyone else. Mentally, he gives a knowing nod to the priestess, conceding her victory. Setting the biographies together, Lynn finds the archer Kai's tale is the longest. Rey learns, to his delight, that the archer founded a school and instructed many disciples. Kai's even found love, married, and raised children of his own. Smile forms as Lynn realizes his friends probably lived full and joyful lives. Approaching Frey's biography, Rey immediately begins sensing something off about it. No records existed after 1168, she vanished following a lengthy rule as priestess, leaving her fate unknown. She surfaced only in 1200, officially declared dead, which didn't make sense for someone who adored attention. Yet he finds himself thinking such an end may not be entirely impossible. People can change after all. Snapping the book shut, he concludes there's simply no way. He knew Frey better than all, and that kind of fate didn't suit her, so perhaps someone else was responsible for her disappearance. Savior shaman erased without a trace, vanishing quietly, overlooked by all. Annoyed, he creases some pages, musing he should seek out materials directly from the Republic. Then a girl tells him searching about Esther's circle means reading the book she offers, a biography. He thanks her, delighted, presuming the book overflows with Esther's own story. But taking the book, he realizes the focus is Ash Shellman, Terena, her disciple. Lost in those thoughts, he only snaps back when the girl with the book gently asks if something troubles him. He assures her all is well and expresses gratitude for the book recommendation. Paging through, Rhein marvels at how that once playful girl came to wear the shaman's mantle. To be a shaman, a spirit master, is a witch's highest station, achieved by only a rare few. Though Rhein begins to suspect she, in fact, was Frey's chosen successor. The more he reads, the more incredible it seems that a person could endure through so many years. In light of all he's learned regarding Frey, he resolves to pursue further records from the Republic. At that moment, the signal rings out, heralding the start of the duel. Though tempted to skip, his earlier bravado forces him forward. He's committed to attending. Rising, he asks if the girl can keep the book aside, but she admits if requested by another, she must surrender it. So Rhein promises return in 15 minutes, and after clashing with Logan in the duel, hurries back to find the librarian seeming uneasy, scanning the room for something. She asks Rhein whether he took the book. He says no, and upon learning it vanished, Karen confirms she'd found it missing when she finished her work. Rhein wonders if maybe another visitor had snatched it, but the librarian assures him otherwise. If any undocumented book left the premises, the alarm would instantly sound. Rhein is baffled as to how something could be gone so swiftly without detection. Seeing Karen's anxious expression, he trusts her honesty as she apologizes for not protecting the book, but Rhein assures her everything's fine. He suggests getting a replacement and to treat it like he was at fault. After refusing, Karen finally concedes when Rhein insists a lot. She expresses genuine surprise that someone like him exists and offers her thanks. Lying in his room, Rhein gazes upward, reflecting on how often people thank him nowadays. He wonders if his lack of regret over spending his time like this is due to newfound peace or a changed body. However, Rhein feels he must address these strange occurrences, like his diary entrusted to Esther mysteriously returning. Moreover, Tina's chronicle vanished just as he began investigating his companion's past. Rhein suspects her but dismisses the thought, knowing both she and everyone from Lynn's past have died. Not knowing the cause of it all is deeply unsettling for him. As he picks up the book again, Rhein is surprised his progress in it has suddenly grown. Ray questions this increase since his only action that day was defeating someone with magic. The realization hits, progress increases by casting magic on others, though the path to answers appears to open through acts of direct confrontation. But then his eagerness fades, something about this method just doesn't feel right. He concludes that while strength can create control, brute force alone doesn't shape the world. Using magic on inert objects only raised progress by 0.1%, but using it on Logan gave an impressive boost of 0.8%. Considering, Rhein decides it'd be useful to experiment further. The trouble is that trying spells on students at school is risky, so he thinks about adventuring. Rhein mentions this path could pay for books, even more reason to give it a try. The day after, main character Chad finds himself encircled by girls competing for attention. Impatient, Rhein plainly states he doesn't want their attention and seeks escape, but the girls just laugh, thinking he's playful. Nearby, two boys comment Rhein is popular with the girls, admiring his charming behavior in the morning. On hearing this, Rhein is simply tired of these antics. Then Christa appears, draws all attention, clears the girls swiftly, and sits at last with ease. Leaning close, Gertrude whispers to Rhein, perhaps his true nickname should be Lady Killer. She flashes him a playful smile before turning away and stepping out of sight. Rhein tries speaking to Christa, but she appears upset and tells him not to bother her. He presses her for a reason, but she repeats herself and asks if he doesn't remember her warning. He gives up and promises not to upset her again, yet wonders if the duel is behind her anger. After shutting her book, Christa admits she's not angry since watching the outcome was satisfying, but she's truly irritated that Rhein hid his strength pretending to be weaker than he really was. If one is powerful, they should carry themselves proudly. He bested Logan and even overcame her. Now, thanks to him, she can finally confront him without anyone saying she's picking on the weak. She points at Rhein, warning him to prepare himself because next time she plans to utterly crush him. Right then, all eyes in the class turn as whispers start about Rhein and the top student squaring off. They lock gazes and Rhein asks if she's sure about standing, since that could cost her class points. She concurs, finds her seat, thanks him, and everyone everyone notes Christa's surprising politeness. Gertrude muses that if Christa spent the night practicing her challenge, she should declare it properly. Over the weekend at the library, the librarian Karen tells Rhein he's been a source of trouble. He grows puzzled, uncertain about what might have gone awry. Karen then tells him every book concerning Torina has suddenly vanished from the shelves. When he asks why, she explains that the Gold Sex Investigation Unit banned them, but she's unsure. Rhein asks if the shaman is now considered a heretic and Karen affirms it, but he's baffled since most are called heretics in life rather than after death. He asks Karen if she'd read it. She has, saying every competent librarian does, and it covers the student of Archmage Lynn with many stories, leaving Rhein seeking anything odd about dark magic within its pages. She replies that it reads only as a biography without anything sinister, and if there were, censorship would have removed it. Rhein sighs, thinking the information only deepens his curiosity. After a sigh, Rhein says he'll need to find answers on the black market, which puzzles Karen about his intentions. Rhein explains that the black market is a place for everything rare, making it likely he'll find books about Tina. Karen expresses concern that such exclusive, censored items might have an exorbitant price. Rhein realizes it would be dangerous for his family to finance the purchase of a banned tome. The librarian mentions such a book would fetch 3 gold coins, far beyond her modest wage. Rhein realizes his first task is to gather enough money by any means he can manage. He wonders about earning coins by selling spells or taking up work as a teacher of magic. Yet neither job would earn him enough for the hours he would have to put in. In times like these, Rhein feels only a risky venture could get what he needs, so risking his life for a fortune appears to be his boldest path. Heading swiftly to leave, Rhein thanks her deeply for her assistance, prompting her to curiously inquire about his next destination. Rhein answers that he wishes to attempt something new and confesses he'll become an adventurer to earn funds during this difficult moment. Concerned, Karen insists such a job is unfit for a noble, promising she could help if he waited, but he insists this is the fastest solution. Regretful she can't sway him, Karen quietly allows her shame to show. By next morning, a stranger arrives, asking for Rhein Elwick, who checked out Torina's biography from the list. Because first-term students are banned from borrowing, he requests to know who authorized it. Another librarian explains Karen permitted it, and when he asks about her, she replies Karen has the day off. He guesses Karen, being new, may not know the rules, and another worker suggests she mixed up the borrower's name, maybe confusing Rhein with Ellen. She comments Karen's penmanship is so untidy it's hard to say if it reads Ellen or Rhein. Given the recent attention around Rhein and her secret talks with him, perhaps love distracted Karen when she wrote it. Upon hearing this, the man decides all is well and he'll just correct the record to list Ellen after the meeting. Before, adventurers were seen as rough souls who chased money with their lives, always pictured in rowdy taverns. Nowadays, adventurers resemble professional monster hunters more than the old ways. If you rise to greatness, you might find yourself celebrated as if you were a legend or hero. Rhein sees all this and realizes how differently the world moves compared to times past. Inside the guild, Rhein overhears talk about troubles with rats and spiders, and promises of great rewards. He walks further, mulling over the information as he goes. Standing at the front desk, Rhein says he wishes to join. The receptionist asks his business. Noticing his uniform, she recognizes him as a delay student and requests his identification. Rhein presents his ID and asks about registration time. The clerk, identifying his noble lineage, says it's under 10 minutes for Delayan students. She ponders why he wants to be an adventurer. Rhein hands over a form instructing him to fill it and sign last. He wonders why, and she explains it's a unique agreement for noble-born applicants. The document clarifies the guild holds no liability, prompting Rhein to assume some tried to pin blame on them. The receptionist mentions that a century ago those problems arose, leading to this clause's making. She gives him an iron tag and notifies Rhein that his registration is now finished. She says this is his adventurer's badge and he currently holds the iron rank. Next ranks climb from bronze, steadily rising all the way to diamond. Any past combat experience or skills would influence your first adventurer ranking. This ensures proper mission assignments. Just as she brings up the rank test, the boy says he knows enough and heads out. She tries providing more, but he politely declines. She urges him to be careful, noting higher ranks unlock tougher missions. Now with official status, Rhein is able to claim rewards for slaying beasts and enter perilous zones. He currently holds just 44 silver coins, so he plans to hunt rat spiders for easy 2-coin earnings, figuring they are weak. With few choices, he aims to catch a lot. After departing, he spots a mountain gate of Eastern design. Rhein observes much has changed. Now, a crowd gathers to see a potion supposed to extend life. As Rhein goes, he thinks when dragons perished, monsters multiplied unchecked. As he leaves, a merchant shouts, offering a potion since the route ahead is infested with monsters. The boy refuses, soon reaching stairs leading to the fire dragon shrine, recalling past visits with companions. He assures himself that the shaman's home remains out of harm's way. Stretching, he proclaims the shaman should watch as he rids this land of vermin. A green-haired woman catches his attention, asking Rhein if he's a wizard. She tells him to reveal himself because she sees through him, creating an odd tension. Rhein claims he's not hiding and asks about his uniform. Embarrassed, she requests silence. She asks him to join her party, saying they need a mage. Rhein is startled and she introduces Bart, a hulking presence. She explains that Bart is a loyal vanguard of the silver rank, utterly dependable. Rhein wonders if it's a joke, noting Bart seems inhuman. The woman chides him, assuring Bart is gentle. She introduces Sammy, the young apprentice priest, who smiles calmly and greets everyone warmly. The girl introduces herself as Rem, a gifted archer, announcing with flair that they'll all do their best. Rhein asks if they're seriously recruiting adventurers when they look suspicious like outlaws. Rem challenges him, but Rhein says they look like human traffickers out to snatch people up. At that second, Bart glares and offers to fight, frightening the boy, but then the unexpected occurs. A towering, mighty warrior suddenly bursts into tears. Trying to comfort him, Rem explains it's not the first time they've been taken the wrong way. Rhein, a bit puzzled, wonders aloud why they'd want someone of his humble iron rank. Puzzled by his doubts, Rem assures ranks aren't what matter, they understand others at a glance. With a friendly grin, Rem says she thinks he looks quite powerful. Her spirit brings Rhein memories of his loyal friend Esther. Rem adds Bart simply didn't want Rhein navigating monster paths on the mountain by himself. Sammy notes that many young newcomers get hurt in those parts chasing money. The group reassures him there's no pressure, but to be cautious if he explores the path alone. Rhein eventually thanks them for the warning, but chooses to go off on his own journey. With a wistful sigh, the leader admits it's disappointing, but accepts Rhein's decision. She reassures Bart that Rhein will manage just fine, then suggests hunting rat spiders as they've found their den. At that moment, someone interrupts her by tapping her shoulder. It turns out to be Rhein, nervous, giving his name as introduction. Rhein announces he's willing to help, so their group heads off to face the rat spiders. Elsewhere, we watch as the rat spiders go about feeding. Deep in the woodland, one rat spider gnaws branches from a tree. The creature catches a sound. It's Rein's crew wondering aloud if rat spiders are even real since they've seen no evidence yet. Art asked if splitting the rewards was alright, and the kid cheerfully agreed with that plan. They questioned if this was Rein's first quest and wondered too if the rats were familiar to him. The kids refused and requested a chance to explain themselves. Then the cleric told them that rat spiders were part rat, part spider, with colonies led by a queen who ruled over soldiers and workers. The workers gnawed trees for food while soldiers fought humans, but they planned only to fight the soldiers and avoid the elusive queen, who seldom appeared. That was the main strategy. When Rhein wondered why not defeat the queen, Bart said pursuing her would require much effort and soldiers caused more immediate harm. So their focus shifted to fighting the soldiers who caused daily trouble. Rhein, grinning, guessed that capturing the queen would bring a great reward. While moving through the grass, Rem warned Rhein not to try for the queen, as she was dangerous even to top adventurers. Suddenly, the girl became excited, as if she had spotted exactly what they hoped to find. Leaping down a slope, she exclaimed she had found where the rat spiders hunted. While she was still in the air, Rem quickly shot arrows, felling 2 monsters below. Wasting no time, the warrior pursued and promptly vanquished 2 more rat spiders. The ponytailed man motioned for the group to follow, saying he saw a large swarm, and Rem figured they were drawn by the party's scent. As they battled, the girl told Bart they'd better end things fast, and while Rhein watched Rem and Bart fight, he asked if the cleric should be fighting too since profits would be shared. The priest, gathering supplies, replied they just needed to handle camp duties, not fight, clarifying his companions hadn't planned for him to join the fight anyway. Rhein wondered why they made the request at all, and Sammy explained they truly just wanted to assist, responding as soon as Ray called, needing funds for the priesthood test. They kept helping well past earning enough, spreading genuine warmth that everyone could sense. Rhein likened their kindness to unconditional love, thinking it something divine to witness. Smiling, the priest agreed, sharing that this deep solidarity felt beyond mere faith, it's the longing to be together. Sammy said adventuring with them filled him with joy, then apologized for speaking at length, feeling bashful as a priest. Rhein replied he felt the same way. He thought fondly of past journeys with friends, the memories bringing Torina to his mind. Ray then wondered if Sui knew Torina and clarified he meant the Witch of Ashes when asked. While everyone kept battling, the priest said there was no way he'd know about her, and re-questioned if the shaman had been detained for heresy. He said it felt both as though it had happened and as if it hadn't. At that moment, the purple-haired man chasing rat spiders faced a gigantic beast. The whole forest became aware as agonized cries echoed through the trees. The adventurers gaped in shock, bewildered by what they had just witnessed. Art dashed toward the chaos, convinced what he was seeing made little sense. Rem, watching the enormous beast with someone trapped in its jaws, asked if it was possible. Cold sweat breaking out, the group cried, insisting it was indeed the queen before them. Only then did everyone understand that, in a bizarre turn, the rarely seen queen was above. Rhein, anxious, asked why the queen appeared, as Snee calmly noted she seemed twice her usual size. Zur explained that the creature's massive form resulted from being left undisturbed so long. Suddenly, the queen raised her head, shrieking and sending a wave of agonizing pain through all. As panic spread and people fled, Bart urged them not to turn their backs, though they ignored him. He Hearing the queen's cries, some soldiers noticed and Sammy told Rem and Bart to retreat fast. Wondering what the fuss was, Rhein was told by the priest that battling this beast was dangerous. With the queen's emergence, rat spiders gather in sixes, making defeat by novices unlikely. At that moment, rat spiders started attacking all gathered adventurers, including Rem. Rem defended herself and struck a rat to save another adventurer from harm. Bart pointed out fighting the rats was futile, so Rem agreed, while the leader gave quick orders. With precision, the archer loosed 4 arrows at once, targeting the queen with skill. Seeing that feat, the main character realized it was Kaisa's signature technique. A group of rat spiders rushed the archer, but Bart defended her, stopping them with his axe. The warrior ran at the queen, leapt high, and drove his axe deep into her form. Witnessing this, other adventurers cheered as they thought the queen had fallen at last. Black ink-like blood rose, and the main character warned Bart to back away or risk his life. Bart leaped back just as the strange liquid erupted violently from the queen's wound. Everyone was perplexed, questioning the animate, oily liquid's true nature. Then the battered queen pulled the axe from her skull and cast it away with force. Bart realized his axe dissolved and watched in horror as the queen ripped out her eyes to grow replacements. Suddenly she whirls to face Bart, who stands frozen right before her. While felling soldiers, Rem worries things are bad and shouts for Bart to flee, but he's frozen and gets bitten. Seeing her friend hurt, Rem forsakes the soldiers attacking and vows to defeat the queen at any cost. Rem fires an arrow at the spider's temple and demands if it plans to keep ignoring her now. She flings the attacking soldiers aside, sending them flying as if they were nothing but debris. The cleric urges Rhein to leave him behind and instead focus on attacking the enemy. But Rhein is petrified, haunted by memories of being poisoned as he watches the spider. He senses it must be dark magic, so a dark sorcerer has to be hiding nearby. Sammy grabs Rein's shoulder, demanding his plan, but Rhein can't use attack magic alone. The nervous priest pleads with Rhein, begging him to save his companions' lives. Rhein grows pale, seeing his team being defeated by monsters one after another all around him. With tears streaming down, he asks about their reward for slaying the queen. As the creature bites, the cleric murmurs it should fetch about 20 gold coins. That's the price someone would get for bringing in 1,000 rat spiders. Upon hearing this, the main character comments the reward sounds fairly decent. Rhein then strikes the queen with a rod, causing an explosion when it makes contact. Everyone around stares in amazement at what just occurred. Facing the beast, Rhein provokes it boldly, claiming he'll defeat it himself. He channels a lightning spell, firing a blazing beam that blinds everyone nearby. The queen flings Rem and Bart aside, and while preparing, the hero urges the priest to protect them. Rhein tells 2 extras they'll survive only by guarding Sammy at all costs. Facing the monster, Rhein announces that he'll take the creature down himself. The beast loses a leg, though the injury does nothing to slow it down. Resolute, the young man charges, spell ready, determined to fight the monster. He eliminates several soldier-like creatures as he advances. Sammy's concern gnaws at him, but he's left tending to those injured and hoping for the best. Rhein turns to the queen and hurls a blazing orb, striking its neck with fiery force. The beast strikes back, but the hero slips beneath it and shapes a gleaming 3-star arcane circle. Just as he prepares his spell, a sharp leg blocks him, the blow narrowly missing his body. Unsure a 3-star would be enough and his magic nearly spent, he urges himself to stay calm. With careful thought, he first sizes up the beast and awakens the power of Bel Sidious. Upon scrutinizing the creature, he senses a shadowy magic, realizing it's of 3-star rank. Soldier lunges at Rhein, but nimbleness lets him sidestep the attack without a hitch. Conjuring a if rope, he poison knew he would break his need to form summon immediately. Conjuring a if rope, Bel Curious failed to shield him, he poison knew he would break his need to form summon immediately 4th 4-star power. And with the shadowy mage possibly near, the danger was considerably intensified. Faced with this disastrous chaos, he felt utterly lost, unsure how to move or act now. Even gravely wounded, Rem stubbornly pushes herself up to her feet once more. Worrying, the healer urges her to rest from serious bleeding, but Rem insists she's still able. Though the priest objects, she stops him, gently asking that Bart be looked after while she fights. Soldier attempts to strike her down, but through pain, Rem takes him down undeniably. Potato Head checks on Rem, receiving her response, "Don't mind me, help with the spider rats." Seeing Rhein join, the man believes their tactics won't work, urging the others to withdraw quickly. That instant, something hurtles through the air and crashes against a tree near the boy. Inspecting it, Rhein discovers in shock it's the eyeball of one of the fallen soldiers. He quickly realizes with terror that the queen has begun to destroy her own brood. Spotting Rhein among the branches, the queen hurls a soldier's form and knocks him down. As he falls, misfortune dogs him, the beast charges and he conjures a stone shield for defense. Staring into the monster's eyes, he's seized by the cold certainty this might be his last moment. At that exact moment, a swift arrow pierces the queen, striking with force right through her eye. Unable to move, the hero is only able to witness the scene unfold. The queen pulls the arrow from her eye and Rem says she told her not to overlook her. Burning with anger, the spider rushes Rem, as Sammy calls for her to flee, but Rem feels she only needs a little more time. The beast advances without pause. Rhein, quietly annoyed, tries more magic while Rem, extracting a dagger from her leg, tells Rhein to mind himself and sprints at the monster. She pins the queen and asks Rhein whether he'll deliver the finishing blow. On the brink of tears, Rhein reassures himself he'll keep steady. As Rhein takes cover behind a stone, he hopes to solve things unseen. Rhein turns all his focus to crafting a seal of interlocking triangles. After kicking the queen, Ren grows faint and finds dodging draining, but she must endure. Suddenly, her world turns monochrome, and she collapses instantly. With force, the queen hurls her aside. The cleric attempts to help, but the protector extra bars his way. Elsewhere, Rhein remains hidden, focused on weaving his magic. As soldiers, distracted by the scuffle, attack the extra, Sammy escapes to Rem. At the same time, the protagonist is left bleeding from the strain of casting the spell. Just as the queen nears the strike, the priest arrives, saving Rem by dodging with someone in his arms. The move amazes all, even the creature halts. Rem demands to know Sammy's intention. Grasping her shirt, he insists they must survive together someday to keep their joy alive. Encouraging caution, she apologizes, promises to hold on tighter, and if they survive, he must pen a written reflection. He nods in agreement. With the pair now confronting the queen, she urges him to stay prepared. With their foe ready to strike, they both steady themselves for the queen's assault. But then, Rein's magic at last comes to fruition, shifting the odds unexpectedly. Rhein sends forth a tremendous fireball, subduing the beast. The spell's architecture relied on quadruple sets of triangles. He spelled it with the runes: angle, rule, bind, disperse, then solved 14 polynomials and 7 ratios for the math. He wrapped up with coordinate and exponent equations to finish the calculations. He triggers the last hidden circle, and a blazing pillar consumes the queen in roaring flames. Everyone ducks for cover, trying to shield themselves from the searing fire's heat. When they glance up, they discover the queen reduced to a pile of ashes and charcoal. Propped against a stone, Rhein remarks how weak he proved himself to be. He recalls how in his old life, he cast that spell 7 times straight with ease. The soft breeze carries away the remains of the queen in swirling fragments of ash. The spider rats that bristled angrily before now cower like frightened animals. The adventurers spot this, saying they can't simply let those creatures escape again. When it's safe at last, the priest hurries over to where Bart lies on the ground. Staring at the wreckage of the queen, Rem considers how easily it could have defeated him. As the healer near Bart, he promises to use healing magic to help him recover. Rem admits feeling faint, asks about Bart, while Sammy assures her he'll recover soon thanks to his endurance. Bart turns apologetic to Rem, checking if she's managed to make it through unharmed. She replies she's been well treated and reassures him it was pure misfortune that made that fight so hard. She finds it odd that the queen could rapidly heal, though there's no guild record of such a power. But in the end, the team managed to defeat her with a single, powerful blow. As darkness spreads, the team hastens in concern to check on Rein's condition. The mage explains Rhein has mana overload and probably spent everything on the last attack. Rem's still uneasy, thinking he hid because the queen was so near. Emmy suggests they postpone the discussion. Now their priority is saving Rhein, and Rem agrees, while Rhein, unconscious, recalls as Lynn, requesting to not be officially listed in the hero party and asks it be relayed to the king. The older man can't see why someone would desire that, since honor was meant for those who serve humanity. Esther wonders if he despises them or is just misbehaving, urging Lynn to stop making trouble. The protagonist protests, saying he's simply not like the others, which makes Free tense, and she demands an answer. But Lynn interrupts to claim he has no grand fate such as Kai's or Freed carry, nor does he hold a special mission to pursue like Esther possesses. He didn't take this journey for anyone else, only driven by curiosity, and mere chance joined him. Thus, Lynn says he shouldn't have his name noted, so as not to tarnish their good name. Kai's then pats Lynn's head, prompting the others to laugh and call him silly for his concerns. Frustrated, the boy declares, it isn't a worry. It's a logical deduction, he insists, but Esther gently says he belongs with them no matter others' opinions. Esther tells him not to worry about self-sacrifice, but encourages him to follow his own path. This world already accepts him as the Archmage. Later, Rhein wakes up in the middle of the city. Art carries him, confused. Rhein asks their location and Rem tells him they're heading to the academy. As pain courses through Rhein, he hopes he didn't push himself too hard and is thankful the mage missed them. Art wonders if Rhein conjured the fire spell, and Rem hints Rhein shouldn't deny it since it's obvious. Rhein hesitantly admits he wasn't hiding it, and Rem affirms. They say it's fine to leave the story as it stands. Rem promises not to pry since Rhein probably has reasons, assuring they'll repay him for saving them all. The main character refuses any reward. However, the moment the cleric suggests keeping all the loot, he instantly agrees. Rem gives him a look as if surprised and expects him to want to share, but she still concedes his point. Rhein tells her that's wishful thinking, causing laughter, then jokes 5 coins are enough, though Bart argues he deserves more. Rhein starts to protest, but Rem suggests wisely to turn his circumstances into opportunity through connections. She asks his opinion, he says he likes her idea and thinks it's worth a try. Next, the priest recalls Rhein asking about Tina, and someone thinks she later delved into dark magic. Rhein parts ways with Rem's crew, his farewell marked by a quiet smile. Yet when alone, his mood turns grave as he realizes maybe she truly dealt with such dangerous magic. At the library, Rhein browses a book, his chin propped thoughtfully in his palm. He snaps it closed, disappointed there's no mention of Torina's dark magic connections. While holding the book, he's swept into a memory from his days as Lynn. Lynn tosses aside the well-used warding book. Clutching his staff, the boy advances toward ruins nestled in a sunken village deep below. They discovered Torina inside a house left to decay, half swallowed by the languid swamp. She was 7 back then. With a snap, Lynn crafts a campfire from scattered wood and scraps of book. He remarks she'll do nicely. The girl soon coughs, prompting Lynn to quietly approach her where she sits. Torina's face is pale with fear while Lynn retrieves something from his worn pack. Yet her worry melts away as soon as she finds out that all he offers is food. He extends some bread, reassuring her gently it holds no peril and urging her to eat. When the others come closer, Lynn asks again if she'd like some, but she remains mute and Lynn sighs. She eventually breaks down, whispering that everyone she once loved, her family, are now all gone. Upon hearing this, Lynn inquires whether her village ever connected with outsiders. Torina responds uncertainly as she cannot say for sure. Lynn stands and says he understands, admitting that he didn't realize such a village existed. Now, only she remembers. He says it's a heavy burden, asking gently if she can bear knowing the village dies with her alone. On the verge of tears, Tina clings to him, declaring she refuses to be the last memory. Stepping near, Lynn says, in that case she must eat. He insists on the bread, urging her that survival means remembering those who once lived there. Only she is able to do this small but vital act. So she devours the bread desperately, understanding her life truly depends on the meal. As she eats, tears slip down, and from then on, Torina remains by his side always. Torina is gifted in magic, but Rhein claims he never wanted to shape her into a renowned wizard. He simply showed her magic that was necessary for her to survive on her own. Even after their paths diverged, she practiced earnestly, never finding reason to complain. They trained with water spells to quench flames and used earth to shield endangered friends. Each bit of magic was learned to save lives, and at a campfire, Friede asks Lynn if he loves mentoring children while Esther wonders if that's so. He asks for something sensible. As he observes her practice, he questions his own empathy. Maybe their shared experiences tie him to her, and soon it is time to leave Tina at the church. Despite her sadness, she simply bids farewell, not making a dramatic scene. Esther says staying gets tougher, urging a quick departure while the boy just hopes Torina will be fine. A man escorted her, explaining she'd adjust to the home size, but the forlorn girl said nothing. Seeing her unease, the man assured her there was nothing to fear, promising she'd have a family now. At last, Torina spoke, saying she couldn't accept that place as her true home. Crafting a square magic circle, she asserted only her master was family as an old man proclaimed her registration finished. He panicked seeing the priest trapped by vines. Learning the girl did it, the old man called for a pursuit party. The priest assured everyone that he was unharmed and that there was no need for pursuit, just let her go. With a sigh, the priest replayed in his mind when the girl had ensnared him. He asked her to release him. Torina said sorry, but her place was forever beside her master. The priest mused about the vitality of youth, and the old man replied, calling him fairly patient. As they journeyed ahead, Lynn abruptly heard his name called behind him. When he turned, he stopped. Torina, drained, was sprinting, calling him master. The main character asked how. She detailed her magical escape using what he'd taught her. She fell to her knees, pleading to join, swearing she'd behave. Lynn glanced at Esther for her view. He consented but made it clear they couldn't always journey together till the very end. He wondered if any were hurt when she escaped. She said no, so Lynn just stressed not harming with magic. And just like that, Torina became part of the group of heroes. As their travels continued, her magic abilities flourished and started to draw attention. Though impulsive, her talent was authentic and stood out to them all. In practice sessions, her evolving talent inspired everyone to teach her new approaches. Tiana eagerly absorbed skills and spells, learning at a remarkable pace. Sometimes shy, her swift progress impressed them, and once she dispatched monsters, she became one of their party. One evening by the fire, Esther approached and brought some gifts for the girl. Among them was a lovely new dress that filled her with joy, and Freddie gestured at Lynn, who held a straw hat at Torina's side. The girl hoped the hat was hers, but Lynn quickly stated it was intended for him, not her. Close to Journey's end and amid the Abyss battle, she finally became strong enough to truly contribute. Within a rune cabin, Lynn explained that she'd have to remain behind in that safe place. Yet she pleaded to join, insisting Lynn knew her abilities and that she could handle herself in battle. At that moment, Esther appeared, agreeing with Lynn they could not let Torina come along. The girl appealed to the others for support, but they stood by in silent agreement. With sorrow, she reminded them of their time together and questioned if she'd truly be left behind. Lynn replied she was still inexperienced, while their next foe was terrifyingly dangerous. He explained they'd begun as four, so they alone must finish what they started, then comforted her with a gentle hair ruffle. They promised to return, and after coming back, Lynn would teach her more magic. She fought off her tears and told them she'd be waiting for their safe return. Lynn gave her a soft smile before leaving with the rest, setting off into the unknown. And so, her story with them closed. Rhein couldn't understand it, as she was destined to meet shadowy magic soon after. It seemed odd, Rhein thought, that any books concerning Torina had suddenly been banned. Rhein opened the book as Rudian pressed it to his brow, noting research had climbed from 37.9 to 39.9%, which pleased him, though he found it odd clearing rat spiders yielded a mere 2% progress. Including a challenging path lay ahead, he noticed Lynn had been drawn at the end of the book. Beneath that portrait, the girl had written of him as the world's most extraordinary master. The praise brought a smile to Rhein, and he was about to comment on her words. However, the smile vanished all at once as a new sensation swept over him. The dawn spread over the aftermath of where the great battle with rat spiders had taken place. Figures in green cloaks grumbled, believing flames might lure golden children and reduce adventurer numbers, with the heat and blast presenting danger. Another claimed it must have been a 4-star spell, and if their informants were correct, Rem and Bart, those adventurers, took part, as the agitated member promised vengeance, but the calmer warned it risked drawing golden child attention. The first insisted on caution and avoiding exposure. The second insisted vengeance could wait in favor of higher priorities, leaving the impulsive one to ask again what truly mattered now. The calm one suggests they notify Torina first, and later, outside the club room, two students greet the protagonist asking about his well-being. He reassures them he's all right, and at the room's entrance the club leader notes membership has soared, asks everyone to sit and says they are starting soon. Introducing himself as Joan, the magic club leader, he admits surprise at the turnout and expresses delight. Wishing for harmony, Joan begins to explain the club's aim, but someone enters, interrupting him. Turning back, Joan continues about advancing local magic but is stunned when he recognizes the newcomer. A wave of astonishment sweeps the room as they realize it's Logan. After a breath, the guest says, "I'm Logan, pleased to meet you all." Slightly uneasy, Joan remarks Logan's timing couldn't be better. Gesturing, he invites Logan to sit, but Logan hesitates, seeing the seat beside Rhein is the only spot left. Rhein, smug as ever, points to the empty seat next to him with a sly smile. Once all are seated, Joan says they should begin anew and urges them to take things seriously. Rhein notes Logan keeps his word, while Logan insists he's simply obeying the rules. As Joan explains, Rhein is deep in thought, doubting if he could win against the Black Mages. Consulting his Rudian, he sees he's only got 12 cane magic power and 311 stamina, so he vows to strengthen up fast. He knows random exercises aren't enough. Guidance from someone skilled would help more. So Rhein considers getting Logan's help since he's the perfect fit for this. Later out on the field, Rhein is put through quite a punishing training by Logan. Amidst the drills, Logan recalls the moment Rhein asked to be trained. Logan questions why Rhein wants his help since Rhein bested him and asks what's to gain from learning from the loser. While Rhein, grinning, says he shouldn't take it personally and jokes that Logan is like a new face of the muscle specialists, which makes Logan bristle. Logan replies that since he lost, he has no right to expect attention. But Logan insists there's no reason for Rhein to cause trouble at his school. Rhein, genuinely perplexed, sighs and replies he doesn't waste time just teasing others. Shutting his book, Rhein decides since Logan is misunderstanding, he'll speak plainly now. Pointing directly at Logan, Rhein says he admires his strength and wants him as his trainer, and he is not ridiculing him. Rhein claims he honestly just finds it impressive for someone so young to be so strong, and though Logan appreciates this, he's puzzled about what Rhein means by that age. The protagonist knows a strong body matters most, so he decides to train properly or risk wasting effort, though he lacks that physical strength. He wonders aloud if Logan shouldn't guide him instead, but Logan admits he's capable yet refuses, claiming he can't teach Rhein and tells him to find another. Mistaking the refusal for a money issue, the protagonist offers payment, but Logan declines, saying that's not why. The kid comes from the magic nobility and Logan is aligned with a rival school, so Logan calls them natural rivals. Enmity prevents help between them, so the kid grows annoyed. When Rhein calls out, the kid's magic is already poised to attack Logan's face. With a mimicry of a gunshot, the kid dismisses the conjured spell. He jests that Logan should feel lucky. If he wanted, Logan would not have survived. Rhein asks why he spared him, and with his hand smoking, the protagonist says Logan isn't really his foe. They aren't combatants but students, in a learning space rather than a war zone. He notes that since they're classmates researching similar magic, there's little reason for hatred. Logan, after pondering, accepts the solid logic and admits he was surprised by it. Now collapsed on the ground, Rhein finishes his workout and Logan remarks he's pleased with the kid's effort. After confirming Logan respects his dedication, the protagonist wants help standing but Logan insists he rise alone. Logan asks what if they're seen cooperating. After all, they'd be pursued by both factions. Rhein teases if Logan's muscles are just for show and says critics could simply be knocked aside. That amuses Logan, who barges protocol and bends to help Rhein up. The observing teacher smiles gently, grateful to see them bonding. Just then, Christa enters the training space. Curious, Christa asks why they're together and if they are in conflict again. They quickly assure her they're simply exercising. While Christa worries aloud, Logan hands Rhein a protein milk, prompting her to ask if he's manipulating him. Annoyed, Logan says they're having a meaningful time, and she wonders why he's suddenly so friendly with Rhein. The teacher places a hand on her shoulder, gently calling out Christa for her usual volume. Nervous, she realizes it's none other than Professor Owen. Logan asks his reason for visiting, and Owen jokes about monkeys before saying he has news to share. The boys ask about the announcement, and he replies with grim news, a true test that reveals who will flourish and who won't. Looking at them, Owen reveals the school thrives on constant rivalry among students. Turning away, he warns that anyone failing exams is immediately let go, so they must be prepared. Later, Rhein finds himself stretched out on his bed, deep in thought. Grabbing a book, his mind wanders back to the exams Owen had mentioned. He ponders whether it's wise to study what the upcoming tests will cover. His Rhein device suddenly malfunctions as though affected by a strange glitch. Confused by the phenomenon, he's startled as a dazzling light floods the room. In the blink of an eye, Rhein stands in a pale room. Rhein says his rare magic has reached 40%, asks why now, and Rhein is prompted to initiate a new mana circle. Analysis begins. The mental barrier Lord of the Fluent World is detected and placed within Rhein. Inside this barrier, unique rune and formula combos for magic become 33% more likely to succeed. Rhein's strength also increases by 66%. With a rune in hand, Rhein warns that casting it takes 20,000 mana more than Rhein has. Baffled, Rhein reads that this activation seal is for using the mental barrier, Lord of the Fluent World. Suddenly, everything glitches and he returns to the familiar setting of his room. Staring at Rhein turns over the strange events in his mind. Mental barriers are legendary. In history, only 2 sages managed to achieve such a feat. Knowing this, Rhein realizes he witnessed something genuinely extraordinary. With the calculation done, Rhein wraps up his hand and gears himself up to visit the black market. He savors the pleasant weather, recalling how the recent chaos made it hard to gather his thoughts. At last able to unwind, Rhein accidentally bumps into someone, apologizing for not seeing them. The person assures him it's okay, saying nothing's wrong between them. Glancing up, Rhein spots Bart and his companions in front of him. Greeted, Rhein says it's been a while, but Rem points out they've seen each other just days ago. Rhein agrees, and suddenly Bart lifts him effortlessly onto his shoulder. While Rem says they should get moving, Rhein wriggles helplessly in the warrior's firm grasp. The child suddenly questions what the man is doing and insists on being let down. Laughing, Rem claims college students are busy, and this is the only way to meet. Rem says it's kidnapping, but the cleric jokes about an award and insists the hero can't skip out. Rhein asks if he really has to accept, yet Bart urges it's good to attend such ceremonies. The Adventurers Guild headquarters will give the reward, so Rhein asks what headquarters are. Arriving at the guild branch, the group hears whispers. Rhein wonders why everyone's reacting greatly. Ram explains Bart studied under the Saint of Seven Swords while she's from the archer school. He also felled the queen in a single blow. Rhein jokes her masters might be weak, which angers her till Sammy intervenes. Bart, remaining calm, says it might seem that way, but he and Rem reach silver rank, defeating many foes. Yet they never doubted their skills until facing the queen, which leaves Rhein reflecting. Figure appears, an archer. Removing his hood, Rhein is startled by his presence. The man, drunken archer, remarks, "So these are the startled by his presence celebrated young adventurers." Whispers call him Bow Saint. Sammy notes the Empire gathers top warriors as martial stars who wield great power and carry overwhelming presence. Noticing Rem feeling down, he gently asks what's troubling her. The archer steps closer and after observing the girl expresses genuine surprise and asks what she's doing there. She acts unfazed, saying he must have mistaken her for another person. He says maybe that's right because he'd never expect the girl who left and dyed her hair to adventure here and asks about her brother's permission. She starts punching him while the archer turns to Bart, questioning if he's the group's leader. Bart nods and Rowan comments, "That's logical since he brought down the mutant alone." While Rem struggles in Sammy's grasp, Robin says Bart has endured because of her, urging him to look after Rem. Artcom insists since they're a team, no one is responsible for another, they support each other. The archer says he likes Bart more because of that, adding platinum rank is close if he continues. Rhein, still frozen, watches and thinks the archer uncannily resembles Kai's. Ryan steps to the boy and remarks his face seems familiar somehow. He's certain he's seen him before but then realizes it's the atmosphere not the face that he recalls. Rhein introduces himself as Rhein Luik and the man assumes the boy is Scaly's grandson, giving him a friendly pat on the shoulder. While looking at the boy, the man says he can see a resemblance to Scousy, especially in the eyes. He mentions that back when he was around, Scousy helped him a lot. As they spoke, the protagonist wondered if Kai's could speak, would he sound this way? Noticing Raren's bow, Ray grew curious about the state of his companion's weapon. Suddenly the bow shudders intensely. Raren holds on tightly, puzzled by its strange behavior. Turning, Raren faces a warrior who tells him it's time to begin, and the archer agrees, starting the event. The man starts reading an announcement, complains about its length, then skips ahead to offer his congratulations. Announcing rewards, Raren says they'll get 2 gold coins and 500 contribution points each. Afterward, many try to recruit the group while Rhein and Sammy remark on Rem and Bart's popularity. The cleric asks if it's fine to say the queen was defeated by a scroll, and Rhein affirms it is. Growing weary, the hero announces he's leaving. Sammy says he'll inform the rest. Before the youth departs, he's told he's now bronze rank and may be recognized, though hopefully no trouble follows. In an alley, he consults his Rudian to see when he'll be able to activate a mental shield. He knows it will take time, but believes he can devote himself to mana work after learning it. He approached the mental barrier, a feat he once never completed, when a voice called him young Master Ludwig. Stranger warns he can't reach the black market even if he takes that path. It's not a mistake, events forced black market merchants to flee, causing its brief closure. Taking off his hat, the man says it's an honor and admits he's with the Magic League. He politely asks if Rhein can spare him a few moments. At a restaurant, the man asks Rhein's food choice. Rhein insists on direct talk, to which the man urges him to relax. He assures Rhein he's not investigating the black market, but the protagonist wonders how he knew this. What unsettles him most is just how much mana the stranger radiates. Apologizing for missing introductions, the man displays a watch and calls himself Doran Slade of Special Operations in the League. He reveals that when Rhein's father was student council president, he served as the man's secretary. The main character questions what the other man is hinting at. The man clarifies he's not untrustworthy and is on Rhain's side, confirming if Rhein used the spell to defeat the mutant queen, noting there are no records of Bart's group visiting a magic shop lately. Even thinking they may have bought it earlier, such strong scrolls haven't been made in 10 years, and checking if Scalzi made one led nowhere, so the man deduces the only answer, and seeing where Doran is leading, the protagonist admits he never meant to hide the truth but was cautious. Doran, eyes cold, asks if he's talking about the Dark Mage. Noting how much Doran knows, Rhein questions if he's just researching him or almost stalking him. At that moment, the waiter sets down the meal, but the order is mistaken. Doran inquires if it's for 2, startling the waiter, who assumed it since there were 2 customers. Holding 2 skewers, Doran says it's fine and he can handle eating it all. Rhein rises, staring blankly, and starts to leave, but Doran stops him, proposing a role with the League's special operations team. Rhein declines, saying he's still just a student. The man adds that the offer would only apply after Rhein's graduation. Since Cavan is in good health so Rhein won't inherit anytime soon, Doran wonders if he'd help fight crime before then. By joining, Rhein would gain authority to investigate dark magic and build a career, but Rhein heading out says he's not interested. As Rhein leaves, Doran reveals increased dark church activity, warning higher-ups are ignoring the looming danger. Pointing his skewer upward, the man admits he hopes they're prepared but cannot be certain. Rhein replies he doesn't know what Doran means but he'll consider it, earning thanks from Doran. Walking away, Rhein wonders if he'll fight the church in this life or let the others handle it. Grinning, Doran calls after Rhein, telling him to seek a VIP escort mission during the next break for black market needs. The Rangers glance at him, visibly uncomfortable. Doran observes Rhein crossing the city until a girl suddenly falls beside him, asking if he was rejected. Exhausted, the girl comments that this year's freshmen are sharp and wonders why Doran targeted the young prodigy. Doran claims the kid won't join the golden generation. Slumped in her chair, the woman asks why, as Doran reasons Rhein hasn't met Torina so they must consider other suspects. She inquires about the likelihood of any Delayan first years meeting Torina. Eating his skewer, Doran trusts his instincts and insists they should check students' histories for any contact pre-admission. Deep down, Doran quietly agrees with the girl's suggestion. How could someone like him be golden? In the end, Cavanet made something terrifying since he hadn't met anyone whose future was as full of dread as Rhain's is. In the library, he told Karen he couldn't get the book but assured her it was alright nonetheless. The librarian admitted her carelessness caused it, expressed relief Rhein was alright, and when Rhein nervously asked about anyone strange in a hat, Taryn confirmed no such visitor had come. But after some thought, she remembered a special errands agent had arrived to investigate veteran librarians and then went away. Yet Karen hadn't seen them and didn't know their face, so Rhein thanked her and headed to the dorms. Walking the dorm hall, realizing Doran was present, he pondered whom he'd spoken to in the shadowy markets. Spotting 2 packages waiting by his door, Rhein understood the moment had finally come. Inside, he found 2 giant spirit jewels. Now he could store enough mana for his barrier at last. Carefully touching them, Rhein measured his mana, knowing he'd need 20,000 for the barrier while possessing only 12,000. So Rhein resolved to hide away 8,000 units for activation when the time to cast arrived. As the crystals glowed red-hot, his energy drained fast and he finally collapsed, spent and weak. Exhausted, Rhein noted the mana transfer was complete, although stabilization still remained. As night descended and Rhein finished meditation, he opened his eyes and said the ritual could begin. With a sigil of his fingers, he set the formation for his mind's defense in motion. Transcendent world awake, the spheroids radiated and the spell emerged in quiet brilliance. Suddenly, the orbs fractured, and the force within forced Rhein to cough blood from the strain. Lying helpless, Rhein realized his defeat had come as he suspected it might. But opening his hand, he saw the room glowing gold from an unexpected radiance. Around him, adjacent rooms shimmered, blazing with the same opulent light. As he rose, changed, Rhein heard himself mutter in disbelief when a magic circle reacted. Now the magic formation felt intuitive to him, like he'd always understood its pattern. It seemed perfect, rooms refining, structures updating as realization bloomed in his mind. As he focused, Rhein imagined this mirrored his mind, a barrier reflecting every hidden thought. The second mage, Christa Warden, once said it, "The craving for truth paints your inward world." The awakened sphere gave Rhein no new wisdom, only balanced his lore and filled his weak gaps. For Rhein, this was ideal. He could now hone his magic alone with no interference. A smile played on his lips, thinking he was that much closer to being a 7-star mage. In the lounge, Chanker Medilia Page wondered if the schedule was a mess, and Kyle replied that with the fieldwork happening they'd be able to focus more on first years next week. Medilia mentioned rumors that the new class had outstanding students, sparking teacher curiosity. Ivan added he heard only a little, though it promised excitement, especially that hidden genius. With the future uncertain, Ellen, arms folded, fumed quietly at the way things had unraveled. Almost reading her thoughts, Caroline advised the girl to try to calm herself down. A teacher remarked Caroline looked hopeful, adding maybe her student was next to be defeated after Logan. Caroline laughed, "We'll see," while Medilia thought Camissa Page could lead Leighton's students well. Professor Marhana got her attention, proposing they start preparing by gathering their aura. She suggested the academy be alerted to assemble students at once, as exams would begin that day. The main character looked worn out, suspecting Logan believed he was made of steel. Watching students quickly get up, Rhein questioned Christa about the sudden commotion. She told him they'd been instructed to head to the auditorium for the exam announcements. Asked if exams weren't next week, Christa replied Delayan loved to change plans unpredictably. He wondered why. Gertrude arrived, answering it stopped them from waiting until too late. The protagonist noted that true talent shows with consistent effort, so teachers likely had their reasons. Gertrude agreed amusedly, though inside she thought the boy was bothersome and disliked rich kids. Standing, Christa advised, "That's why you must give it your all so you regret nothing." At the auditorium they entered and Gertrude took note of students' expressions around her. The crowd looked less than thrilled. Meanwhile, Rhein called out to Logan when he saw him. Logan remarked on Rhein's speedy arrival, to which Rhein shrugged off the praise. Gertrude whispered in Rhein's ear, cautioning against befriending someone like Logan. She warned Logan was seriously a rival, but Rhein claimed he couldn't rival someone he gave protein to daily. Irritated, she asked if he took bribes like a bird. Logan soon teased Christa's sidekick, offering her protein too. Her face flushed with anger, she warned his joking was unwelcome, prompting him to challenge her. He was advised to be careful, but Logan only responded with sarcastic fear. Christa appeared just then, separating them and scolding them for being too loud in public. Sternly, she said if they wanted to continue, they should talk elsewhere. Rhein was surprised by Christa's reaction, and Gertrude quickly offered an apology. Moving away, Christa told them if they wanted to stay, they'd have to fight for their survival. Suddenly, a voice praised the tension and advised them to maintain that mood for the exam. They then realized it was Professor Caroline, who began by revealing the exam announcement. She said exams would run all week and be harshly graded, causing frustration. Any expelled student must leave at once. Caroline requested silence to announce their evaluators and summoned the teachers, who stepped forward. Upon recognizing their evaluators, the students reacted with utter shock. Gertrude tapped Rhein repeatedly, prompting him to ask what was wrong. Panicked, she asked if he didn't know of Professor Marina, once leader of the Magic Alliance and now chief at Delay. Only the most skilled mages ever led the Magic Alliance, a distinction reserved for for legends. Logan now realized that a renowned figure from the magic world had come among them. Gertrude shouted until she could explain that Marina replaced Rein's grandfather as leader, which left him bewildered. Comparing Marina to his grandfather, the protagonist assumed she must be truly formidable. She then informed him of the elite instructors accompanying Marina. Kyle was known for graduating first among 378 classes, an unparalleled talent. Professor Gyern built her own magical tower at age 20, while Ellen wrote for a magical newspaper, making them top instructors for advanced students. Gertrude admired the elite roster, while Marina remained silent for a moment. Marina then cleared her throat, capturing everyone's attention throughout the hall. With a powerful spell, she commanded silence from all present. Her amplified voice startled the audience, then she warned, "These tests are meant to remove the unworthy." She warned that unlike before, the current evaluators would be far stricter, making everyone uneasy. She notes teachers are quick to dismiss anyone they deem talentless, heightening their anxiety. Marina smiles, praising their readiness, and explains exams are at different sites chosen for each student. They'll soon receive their exam locations and must proceed straight to the assigned instructor's room. Then she announces this challenge is called Delayan. She explains only the strong endure, so they should keep that lesson clear in mind. He tells the students they may go. Inside a cave, Professor Kyle welcomes everyone and says their labyrinth test now begins. Some students murmur to each other, anxious whether they'll escape unscathed. With his hand under his chin, the protagonist muses that he remembers no caves in the area. The professor asks what was said, and Rhein notes it's unusual to find a labyrinth in such a revered site. Kyle praises the students' intellect, assuring them he oversees the artificial maze and they're mostly safe. The idea only slightly reassures them, and the professor asks if passing the exam isn't their true worry. He calmly explains he'll use a relative grading curve, awarding an S rank for first place. Second and third earn an A, going down to F, which equals 39th place. Labyrinths require defeating monsters quickly. Each pair must neutralize all threats in 40 minutes or risk expulsion from the academy. A window appears and Kyle states teams are based on entrance rank. Find your partner now. Rhein internally speculates about his teammate, and just then a clay doll drops from the sky. He's puzzled until someone shatters that doll underfoot, leaving only fragments. Irritated, Rhein sees Christa, who jeers that fate was unkind to team them up right away. He threatens to destroy Rein's self-confidence. Suddenly Logan arrives, asking about their plans and stating he'd like to join as well. He jokingly tells Rhein there's good news, causing him concern before revealing they're a team. Christa and Rhein find themselves momentarily perplexed by this arrangement. Rhein greets Logan cordially, declaring it's an honor, which irritates Christa further. She objects, arguing it's unfair for strong students to be grouped into one team. Wearing a grin, the lead male teases, asking if she's finally acknowledged his abilities. She rejects the idea and shrugs, admitting with reluctance that he's all right, she supposes. Christa feels a hint of hope recalling Rein's entry test, but remembering it was special admission, she's discouraged again. One student whispers Rhein and Logan are teammates, another notes they fought before, and Logan claims first place is his regardless. Rhein hears Logan, merely grins, and tells everyone they're welcome to try proving themselves. Facing Logan, Rhein questions his fixation on rankings, wondering if exam results are crucial for a top graduate. Logan asks Rhein if graduating top is his aim, then says if so, these exams matter as only 4 are held yearly. Rhein mutters acceptance and turns to Christa, apologizing as he says he can't take it easy this time. Christa hesitates, then beams and insists that's exactly what she was hoping for him to do. The instructor claps for silence and reminds them they have 10 minutes to discuss plans before going in. He states the maze has 20 paths with the same enemy counts, but only one team can take each route. Students begin planning while the assistant professor asks Kyle why this is always the test for first years. Kyle explains true talent is shown when someone confronts the unknown, leaving his assistant puzzled further. He continues that such situations blank their minds, cloud their judgment, and make them falter. Thus, the test shows who excels under pressure. Meanwhile, Logan asks Rhein whether they should just defeat every foe in sight. Rhein agrees it's reasonable but suggests a steadier approach before they step into the maze. Too much loud chatter around distracts Rhein and irritates him, frustrating his ability to think. Christa teases that instead of listening in, he should devise his group's strategy on his own. Rhein tells her to handle her own group. Christa smugly says her strategy's set despite the maze's strict magic rules, confirmed by Logan's comments on her confidence. Calling to Rhein, she confirms his aim for the top but states she's always been number 1 and this will be the same, offering a quick apology as she does. She vows to make clear how far apart their strengths truly stand. Having said that, Christa swiftly departs, her partner moving right behind her. Glint shines on the professor's glasses as he officially lets Team 2 begin the exam. Kyle and the assistant observe their progress through a magic camera that follows closely. As they enter, Christa Christa asks her teammate to use their light-based magic immediately. He claims his detection magic picked up something, but she insists he focus on scouting as she lands. Christa softens their landing with sand magic, and the boy reports 2 foes hidden northwest, 20 meters off. With her arms folded, Christa declares, "Rise," and calls forth an army of soldiers solo leveling style. Her rapid summoning stuns her teammate Rhein and Logan, all amazed by her incredible speed. Her power catches Kyle's interest and leaves the assistant professor visibly shaken. That's Warden bloodline magic crafted by Warden, the second sage. Though just a 2-star spell, the pace she uses it is astounding. For someone her age to expertly handle 12 summons at once displays remarkable genius. Christa peers upwards as a monster is deftly cleaved in 2 before her eyes. Her companion detects 3 more monsters in a pit at their left, and she urges them to continue on. He insists it's right there, but Christa grows frustrated after a long walk, questioning his sense of direction. He asks her to wait, warning there's a beast amidst the stones at 300, another at 800 plus 1 overhead. He orders her shadows to strike, assuring him that the situation is hers to handle. Her sand summons quickly eliminate the monsters without delay. Her teammate is left astonished by how swiftly she cleared away all 3 foes. The girl glances over, wondering what he was actually doing, but as he found nothing, they move forward. Outside, students observe the pair glide through the maze as if it offered no resistance. In awe of the girl's talent, the protagonist admits hoping to cast magic with such skill too. Star spells executed with that accuracy were rare. Logan remarks that's Christa, the era's brightest prodigy. Rhein asks if she's so incredible, and the guide shares even the elders cautioned everyone about Christa. Even mid-battle, Christa pressed onward, feeling she hadn't yet reached her full strength. She recalls mages remarking about her family's esteemed standing since their former head was once the dean. Seeing the girl was still young, one mage doubts if her father truly deserved his title as an underwhelming 2-star. Why do 2 sage-born families lead such different fates? The mage ponders aloud. The hooded mage tells him to drop it, but the red mage, touching her shoulder, claims sincerity. The red mage urges Christa to admit her family doesn't belong among mages, repeating what others often say. Moreover, even her mother and 2 sisters never displayed magical talent either. He cautions that clinging to such hopes will only cause more pain, suggesting she should just let magic go for peace. It would help everyone if she did, and as she stumbled, Christa replayed those words while defeating the 20th foe. She glances at her exhausted teammate and asks, "What now?" As he begs for a break, but Christa insists time is short and drags him with her summon. While hauling him, she demands he just direct her toward the next group of enemies. Outside the arena, students murmured about how wild and astonishing the show truly was. Their teacher, uneasy, was shocked at Christa's unforeseen magical skills. Long ago, the girl faced a lone light in the dark, prompting the green mage to ask if anything troubled her. She declares her goal to become the world's top mage so her family won't look down on her anymore. Returning to the present, Christa quietly vows to demonstrate her worth as she conquers each foe. Swearing to win honor through effort, she recalls when the mage knelt and pledged his belief she'd resurrect their house. Suddenly, a monster like a Zubat crashes onto a summon and obliterates it. Christa leaps back, avoiding harm, and quickly calls forth another sand creature, urging it onward. She orders the new summon straight into battle against the attacking beast. The summoned fighter brings its fist down, smashing the creature against the earth. 4 minutes have passed, and the assistant professor confirms that all magical signals are gone. Thus, Teen QS test finishes in 4 minutes, wrapping up their run in less than 5. Kyle notes that such achievement is just what you'd predict from a bloodline like hers. He then reveals Christa receives an S grade. Departing the maze, Christa's team hears fellow students puzzle at their success. Most hadn't even strategized yet. Logan anticipated her potential, but her extraordinary level still surpassed his hopes. Now Nabby sees why elders are interested. She could become a true leader of the Magic City. The team halts by Kyle, who explains they are now ranked 2nd under his guidance, just under 5 minutes. Confidently, the girl says her family's style is to finish battles with irrefutable might. The professor believed the wardens drew their strength from the highlands, hiding their true stamina and magic. His plans revolved around this belief, yet the girl's achievements came from her own relentless will. Her true gift was hard work alongside genius. Summoning the pair, the professor declares them victors. With some students still waiting, he quickly adds that their score is an exceptional grade S. Christa clears her throat, bows, and humbly claims he is far too generous to her. He wishes her luck, and with joy she glances at our hero as she passes, thinking, "That's just me." Rhein beams, remarking to Logan that this might be quite exciting, and Logan concurs with a grin. Suddenly, another memory tugs at Rhein from his earlier days when he was still Lynn. Esther shares that this place was called the Southern Star for its beauty, though that's long gone. Sitting down, Freed wonders if there's any plan, since the fog clearly means near certain death. The hero agrees while their silver-haired leader grumbles about hunger, then Esther urges Lim to obliterate everything. He nods, but turning to her, confused, he actually questions what on earth she wants him to do. Lynn remembers it's a heritage site, Esther affirms, and Lynn insists on preserving it for later restoration. Kyle and Freed laugh and Freed jokes, wondering if everyone is actually teasing him. Esther strikes a pose, telling Lynn that sometimes life demands bold actions and later regrets. Lynn asks what she could possibly mean. Frida agrees with Esther, to which Lynn urges her to be quiet. Blushing, Freed grins, declaring he matters most, and as leader she'll face any blame, hands clenched. Esther asserts if the time comes, she will also fight with all she has. Seeing Esther's resolve, the hero says if the dilemma is that simple, and she claims to despise complications, forming a magic circle, he decides not to fear the consequences. A rash choice can shift the world. Rhein, in the present, resolves himself and waves Logan over to share his plan. Logan wonders if Rhein's plan is reckless enough to risk disqualification. Rhein simply promises to answer for it. Logan feels uneasy, noting they'd pass easily but miss the thrill. Rhein beams, pleased, but just then Christa, having overheard, questions them about the risk of disqualification. Rhein teases her, asking if she's scared, and suggests she watch what they are about to attempt. She protests, saying these exams aren't games, and urges them to act with seriousness. Rhein looks at her, remarking that magic should be enjoyable and asking if she agrees. Once preparation ends, the professor orders the teams to their marks. Though they rush in, Rhein, unhurried, approaches the professor and calls for his attention. He inquires about the students' safety, to which the professor assures their lives aren't at risk since he oversees everything. Rhein then confirms with Logan, suggesting they proceed. The assistant professor updates everyone that just 1 minute remains, with 9 minutes already gone. Rhein looks at Logan and asks if he's prepared, as he removes his shirt. Logan calmly notes that he's ready now. Rhein says, "I trust you with this." He recalls past adventures, channels his power, and says he'll unleash explosive force. They amplify their enchantments, announcing it's finally time for the real test to start. Christa and her teammate gape in disbelief, doubting if those two plan to enter at all. Kyle sees Rhein's gaze reflecting the Elwick family's magic Belsidus, a tool that discerns all magic. Being able to use it at such a young age sets Rhein above his famous kin, though Kyle ponders his next move. Right then, Rhein completes his magical scan and locates all the monsters inside the labyrinth. He connects his spell, prompting Logan to prepare a powerful punch. Upon seeing their strategy, the professor is visibly taken aback. As Rhein signals, Logan brings down his fist with tremendous force and crushes the ground. Christa shields herself from the blast, scolding him for locking them out with his own power. Kyle, puzzled by the light result of the fierce attack, soon detects something unusual. Rhein still sustains the spell's energy. Suddenly, a fissure snakes from their spot through the labyrinth's depths. Magical circles start taking shape beneath each creature inside the maze. Grinning, Rhein watches as creatures are swiftly flattened, the shock making all nearby falter. Speechless, Christa tries to make sense of what just occurred. Alarmed, the assistant wonders if it was a quake, and Kyle asks if it was magical backlash. Covered in dust, Kyle asks his aide if they sensed an arcane surge within the labyrinth. As the assistant inspects, he is gripped by panic at the sight that greets him. He urgently summons Kyle, who, puzzled, questions what's wrong and notes just 1 minute remains. He reports that when he checked the labyrinth status, not a single beast remained inside. The professor reacts with deeper shock, realizing less than a minute has passed since it began. Scratching his neck nervously, the assistant argues that's simply impossible. Kyle questions why, and the guide answers that the situation shouldn't be possible. The whole point was to test candidates' skills in the labyrinth, but this result defeats the goal. With every monster gone, it feels just lucky, when an S rank should signal true mastery. Kyle reflects, saying brilliance is far from perfect, yet often leads to unpredictable chaos. He continues, saying perfection is the world's ideal, but real trailblazers always go against these norms. True genius doesn't fit comfortably into normal ideas of perfection. Instead, it's geniuses who shape the meaning of perfection in new ways. Zammer asks for clarity, so Kyle explains if norms applied, Rhein and Logan would fall short. He then wonders if Zir ever imagined erasing the labyrinth. Zir admits he never thought about it but knows he could. Kyle emphasizes that uniqueness matters, to devise and achieve something no one else dared. That's the essence, having the wisdom and ability to make even a wild idea come true. Observing the boy's bright smiles, the teacher remarks that student will soon shape the magical world's future. The exam finishes after 40 minutes. Kyle then announces the results will be displayed and sends the students to go check them. In this year's toughest trial, most passed by 30 minutes, but many lost magic or got hurt due to miscontrol. Moreover, some had to try again after being hit by targets over 3 times. Christa and Rumlow's team cleared the trial in 4 minutes, a truly astounding feat. For them, an S rank was deserved, but since Logan and Rhein won in under a minute, the girls got an A rank instead. Christa remembers how everyone said the Warden family's daughter wielded double-star magic at just 6. People called it a blessing for the Warden house, who desperately needed hope to avert collapse. Then their attention drifts from the boastful girls to questions about the Lewick family's affairs. They discuss the so-called disaster prince, pitying him but relieved he's outside their own bloodline. Christa taunted Rhein, who ignored everyone's words including hers, undisturbed by any talk. Yet on the school's entrance day, Rhein unexpectedly steps in and rescues her from danger. Her tutor even commends Rhein, amazed by his swift magical reaction during the incident. Christa wonders how he improved, as Rhein seemed ordinary at the gathering, and her tutor questions his presence after the entrance exam began. Christa asks about overlooking his tardiness, to which Carolina muses whether she even cares about others anyway. The girl claims, as her teacher said, Rein's arrival would definitely stir things up now. She asks if a bit of rivalry might actually benefit the atmosphere at their academy. She truly began approaching the situation with focused intention from that point forward. She then claims Rhein as her rival, only to be devastated by the exam's shattering outcome. Rumblo, her partner, comes to thank her because he achieved a high score with her help. Christa stands stunned, wondering if she's truly lost again to someone who takes magic so lightly. Bothered for not destroying the maze, she admits that even if she tried, she lacked the power. Seeing this, Kyle knows competition runs fiercely through her spirit. He senses this drive is healthy, but thinks Christa faces a difficult journey if she pursues Rhein. Sighing softly, he lifts his glasses back up, gathering his thoughts before he speaks. He explains that while only one team normally gets S rank, both Logan and Rhein were on the same team, skewing fairness. He decrees that both teams will be awarded S rank levels because of this circumstance. Most students celebrate, yet Christa can only dwell in her own disappointed frustration. Ray approaches Christa and observes that it seems to have ended in a complete draw. He offers his hand, but she brusquely bats it aside in defiant refusal. Though others look on, confused, Christa pointedly asks if he really thinks she is content with it. Rhein responds with confusion, questioning why she should be dissatisfied with the outcome. They both have S rank, but she shouts not to fool her, they just pitied her with that result. Overwhelmed by anxiety, Christa pleads not to be stared at and flees from the crowd. Rhein calls her name, reaching out to stop her, but she slips beyond his reach. Turning to Logan, Rhein asks if he upset her. Logan assures him it's not so, adding that, being from one of the 8 magic schools, he doesn't quite grasp the clan politics. Noticing Logan seems off, Rhein questions him, but Logan just repeats nasty rumors about the Warden family's decline. Rhein, hearing that, asks Logan why he'd say such things. Logan replies that's just what people say, Warden's former greatness is gone, and until Christa, the family didn't have the strength to be called a magic clan. Christa alone revived the family's name, gaining them their title again without anyone's help. Carrying her family's burden alone, Christa is weighed down by frustration, now sobbing deep in the woods. Hearing approaching steps, she rises and cries out, "Magic clans and mages should be almost revered, as people's high hopes make it impossible for us to be scorned." "But it hurts Christa dearly," she snaps, saying she's given every part of herself since age 6 and can hardly claim all she's achieved. Still, a nameless kid soiled her clan's honor with a reckless duel challenge. To make things worse, Rhein chats away with anyone without the slightest pause. No second thoughts at all. Christa shouts that Rein's idea of fun in magic is lost on her, as magic has never been a game for her. Conjuring a spell, she desperately asks Rhein why things turned out this way. Despite taking magic so earnestly, her evaluation was lower than his. Rhein gently scatters the sand spell Christa summoned. He confesses his love for magic and says when it goes as imagined, all his past pain disappears. Only those who strive understand that life isn't all play. Recalling despair, Rhein blocks Christa's next attack. Blocking, Rhein states she's her clan's only hope and that her training history is impressive. She's reached a skill many never find at her age, and he can't know the depth of her pain. But thoughtfully, Rhein says this might be her first true success with that incantation. Those words bring silent tears as they stream down Christa's cheeks. Though Christa seems furious, the boy says the burdens she carried weren't truly hers and could have been set aside. Still, she pressed on, and as he asks her why while conjuring a giant stone defender, Christa furiously tells him to be quiet. Rhein stands firm, softly asking if she hasn't moved on from her past. Unwilling to listen, Christa silences him and strikes him hard with her summoned attack. In that moment, she recalls childhood joy at simply defeating a straw dummy in training. Despite her blow, Rhein stands and says she's powerful enough that no one would oppose her. Christa breaks down crying as the hero urges her to rediscover the happiness magic brings. Wiping her tears, Christy stands and tells him his boasting is really aggravating now. He claims victory gave him bragging rights, leaving her silent and without rebuttal. Rhein remarks he's felt this way for the first time in a long while. He extends his hand, saying this encounter is exactly what he expects from a rival. Thanking her for the fun, he says he'll rely on her in the next test, prompting her to smile. Tears streamed down her face only moments before that smile appeared. Blushing, Christa gives him a slap, telling him to quit acting superior. Rushing off, she warns him not to gloat because next time her victory will humble him. Rubbing his cheek, our main character complains about the force behind her hit. As she dashes away, Christa tells her father sorry but affirms her chosen direction. Kyle shares with his aide that ability reveals itself differently, to the assistant's puzzlement. The teacher explains motivation can spark from peers, large goals, or supportive friends. Gazing at the students, he predicts that things are about to grow more challenging. Asked if things can worsen, Kyle smiles, sure he chose well by teaching here, now it's time for a fresh start. He sends his assistant to gather students. Meanwhile at Tatton, classes pause during exams. Inquires about Rein's puffy face, but Rhein training hall since Thra brushes it off as afternoon is free imagination. To change the mood, but Rhein training hall since Thra. Logan asks why train after an exam, and opening the door, Rhein says it's all the more reason. Then they encounter Owen, who remarks on their abundant energy with a knowing smile. Their teacher gestures to 150 math questions, announcing the practice will be thorough. He adds that a written exam will follow and they must stay out until all tasks are complete. Once inside, Logan questions why he's even taking part in any of this situation. With a gentle tone, Owen tells Logan he may come or go as he pleases, making Logan rethink instantly. Gathering the students, the teacher assigns them as well. They protest about exhaustion, but he warns them he won't repeat himself. Rhein picks up his papers and glances at Christa, who seems like a ghost, as the teacher reveals she once seemed energetic and so received extra questions. Christa protests loudly, questioning if he's kidding, but Owen assures her he isn't and reminds her that a half-hearted effort will cost her on the written section. Unceasing grumbling fills the room as the students keep protesting against this test. The teacher calls them primitives and warns he'll evict anyone if further chatter erupts. Rhein realizes they're being tested on endurance. Can they answer correctly when fatigued? With an endless stack of questions, he sees it's a grueling test in stamina and repetition. He discreetly uses his bell Sidious, intending to help himself with a hint of dishonesty. After 10 minutes, Rhein claims he's done, and Omen quickly replies that if he's truly so confident, he should submit his answers and leave. Right at that moment, somebody asks aloud if Rhein truly feels so confident about his performance. It turns out to be Christa, pale from exhaustion, who doubts he could outscore her by finishing so quickly. Rhein remarks on Christa's tired state, and Owen rebukes her for talking during the exam. She quietly apologizes. As Rhein stands and heads for the door, his attention shifts to Logan, who seems frozen and overwhelmed. Rhein muses that a shower might do him good as he gently closes the door behind him. Just then, the sound of footsteps announces another person emerging through the doorway. A striking girl with ginger hair appears, immediately catching Rein's interest. Her flame-bright hair was impossible to miss, and her eyes held both clarity and shadow within them. That became the moment Rhein first encountered Lily and Karen. After the clash of the 8 top schools, she had earned a reputation as the Academy's finest student. Soon at the Academy, Rhein asks Logan about the red-haired girl, curious if he knows who she is. Logan confirms he knows her, baffled by Rein's sudden curiosity, but Rhein says he just wanted to mention her. While drying off with a towel, Rhein mentions crossing her in the hallway and sensing strange energy, causing Logan to tense before answering. After a pause, Logan admits she's really the hidden strength of Rivenal School. He mentions that since arriving at the Academy, Lillian has been plagued by gossip. Rhein recalls Rivendell has a reputation for nurturing exceptional fire users. Logan shares that, as Rhein might suspect, her red hair marks a remarkable bonding with fire. Thus, among the top 8 schools, she's dubbed Christa Warden's rival and often called a monster. He continues, elders claim she could become an Archmage. Rhein doubts this and Logan insists it's justified. Her power truly is unmatched. After a pause, Rhein thanks him, expressing gratitude, while Logan, sipping water, answers he's pleased. Suddenly, Rhein pivots and accuses Logan of knowing so much only because he's smitten. Logan splutters water as Rhein jokingly urges him on, insisting they'd be a fun couple. Logan asks if Rhein truly believes that, and grinning, Rhein replies, yep, thinking how Logan gets no rest. At the dawn of Day 4's Red Ridge test, the boys gather before an imposing barrier. They comment that it appears to be a formidable 4-star barrier. Zimmer begins by saying the exam will unfold in a fantasy world, in 3 groups of 60. Groups A, B, and C form, and Rhein deduces a fantasy world means the inside of the barrier. The teacher explains the exam is a battle royale, confusing most students as teachers look bored. Basically, they'll find hidden treasures for 1 point each, plus fight magical illusion beasts for more. The point values depend on difficulty. Students must decide to fight or flee before Zir asks for questions and Christa responds. She wonders if winning is about grabbing loot and monsters rather than battle, which doesn't fit the theme. The teacher responds that such a view isn't wrong, yet there's an extra twist to the rules. Contestants can attack others to steal points and even swipe treasures or magical creatures at will. If they wish, they could eliminate classmates, and this causes a hush to fall over the group. Tapping Kane interrupts, focusing everyone's attention anew. Marina explains since magic shapes this realm, all within it is illusionary. necessary. Consequently, regardless of severity, attacks inside won't physically harm competitors. Yet pain will still be experienced as though the wounds were real. If their avatars perish once the ordeal ends, they awaken unscathed in real life. She tells them to go full force since the scoring is direct, the teacher adds. The top 2 scorers would earn S rank, leading some to believe victory comes from all-out combat. Morena recalls Emitsa, the enchantment's creator, who believed inspiring dreams required great skill. In the magic realm, those with high P and future skills become true elites. It was time to showcase real abilities. She names Team A, Hubert, Logan, and Christa. Pleased with her group, Christa claims this is a real challenge, and Rhein teases her about past tears. Flustered, she tries to act innocent and asks who told him she'd cried. Gertrude observes the exchange with a smile, enjoying the playful moment. Christa urges Rhein to aim for S rank, insisting only she deserves to dethrone him. She insists only she may best him, but their laughter only fuels her frustration. Zur declares that Team A's challenge is about to get underway. Team B would next take the stage, composed of Gertrude, Lillian, and Rhein. Gertrude steels herself in front of the barrier, hands clenched as she fights for calm. Seeing this, Rhein asks if she's nervous, which takes her by surprise. She quickly denies it, claiming he's joking, and says Rhein should be the one feeling uneasy. Rhein wonders why he should be anxious. She insists teaming with her means he'd better behave or else. Grinning and waving it off, he assures her there's nothing to worry about. Turning around, Rhein asks, "Why have you been standing there so long?" to the red-haired girl. She explains she needs to talk with him and asks if his time is free. Rhein replies, "If it's something fun, then I can spare a moment." Christa's golem now faces off in fierce combat against a massive octopus. An alert signals her at 280 points, but she knows it's not enough, and as she considers Rein's possible score, hidden movement prompts her to summon sand warriors who sees 2 would-be attackers. With gravity, Christa questions if teaming up was their plan. They admit defeat and plead for leniency. She releases them, remarking their defeat lacks value and advises they should try honestly next time. Those observing outside remark that wielding a 2-star spell at that age showed great skill. They also discuss Hubert, whose renowned command over wind let him earn 253 points. Logan took 3rd place with 249 points, breaking obstacles with his raw but impressive might. Professor Kyle notes those 3 always lead, and Zimmer remarks they seem set apart from others. Marhena calls them just the prologue, while Elen rests her chin in her hands, awaiting her cue. Nearby Rhein, Lillian shares that she's undefeated, which confuses Rhein about her point. Reddit clarifies that she's never lost before. Failure now might mean harsh consequences. She questions why he concealed his strength. He says he wasn't hiding, just didn't see a need, so Lillian assumes he's from a noble house. Gertrude wonders if Lillian herself isn't from eminent roots and why she calls Rhein young master. Lillian protests about the prestigious family title, claiming she doesn't deserve it at all. She invites them to call her a tool. Rhein inquires why, and she says she was born only for purpose, not love. Her father Deedon, Rivel's head, confined her as a child and forced magical study, punishing her severely for poor grades. For instance, her father would bring her mother in and scald her with water, leaving Gertrude disturbed. She continues, sharing how her fire mage father could punish without lasting marks, while Rhein ponders whether failure meant torment by her father, so the academy was nowhere similar, yet she resolves to resist if provoked. But she swears that if he attempts it again, she'll personally see him pay dearly. Gertrude guesses her father was a 4-star mage, and wonders if Lillian could defeat such a foe. While passing by, Lillian unveils her real plan. Graduate from Delayan with honors, earn respect and cast out her father. She makes it clear, don't stand in her way, but the pink-haired girl advises her to quit since Christa, a global prodigy, is there too. In response, Lillian says Christa Warden means little more than an ant in her eyes. This infuriates Gertrude, prompting her to challenge Lillian for calling Christa an ant. Lillian, remaining unfazed, teases if her words were out of line. Rhein steps in, empathizing with Lillian's drive, asks Gertrude to stay calm and looks her way. Lillian simply looks back in silence as she heads away. Rhein shares he won't give up on topping their class, for an important friend lies in wait. The red-haired girl repeats her warning. If he keeps interfering, she'll be forced to remove him. At that moment, they announced that Team A's exam had come to an end. During the test, Christa and Hubo I scored 361 and 338 for Team A, earning rank status for both. Gertrude offers Christa a towel, praising her with warmth, while Christa, worn out, says it was like a run. With the first test completed, Kyle announces it's now Team B's moment to begin. The students must now decide from which area their challenge will commence. Rhein considers his options, since E and F mountains brim with creatures and prizes, making them popular starting spots. Zones B and C are the summits, with breathtaking views but danger from being encircled by peers. Dense forests D and E are good for hiding, but lack clear sight and offer little chance for points. Rhein, however, has already chosen a place matching his strategy, and they are reminded to remember their choices. Christa tells Gertrude it's her turn. Gertrude replies confidently, and Christa calls after her to do her best. Beaming, Gertrude vows to try, then vanishes in a burst of transporter light. Heem's teleport ends and the exam begins, while Caroline tells Ellen it's Rein's entry. Yulin finds Marinus's criteria simple: mobility, info gathering, and battle readiness. It's an exam to test the core abilities amazers should possess. She is sure Rhein will impress. Lillian, like Christa, starts in Area F, impressing the onlookers. Although the most perilous zone, its risks hold abundant points and easy movement to other areas. Zigger comments compared to Lillian's bold route, Rein's pick is steadier, focused on safe points, avoiding conflict. Carol observes that it appears to be a reasonable decision. Caroline says she expected more excitement, hoping Rhein would meet Lillian F, and when Elan asks, she admits, yeah, he can topple 8 schools majors yet behaves like this. Soon, Rhein stumbles upon a girl deep within the woods. Everyone cheers as he finally encounters a true challenge. Caroline is keen, eager to see what an S-rank like Rhein will do, surprising all as well as his opponent. While she starts to cast, Rhein simply turns away and sprints off. Caroline is dismayed, and Ellen is so shocked she tumbles from her seat. As he flees, her furious aunt is restrained, yelling indignantly, while Christa, arms folded, questions if he truly aims for S-rank. One teacher laughed aloud, saying, Sai's grandson is a strange one, while Zigger questioned if laughter was fitting now, and the teacher grinned, noting things had just become all the more fascinating. Marina observed the boy was conserving energy, likely for something significant, and she questioned also how he would recover the points he dropped. 40 minutes passed with the top contenders in keen at a lower but still remarkable mark. People in the stands wondered who's ahead. A boy clutched a jewel, suddenly finding it missing and now in Gertrude's hand, who was leading. Caroline inwardly smiled, so typical of her. In the blink of an eye, a monster caught Gertrude off guard from behind but was swiftly defeated. Caroline mused on how Gertrude always stood in Christa's shadow yet remained a remarkable mage. Carol asked Zigger for Lillian's ranking, only for him to discover she wasn't even in the top 20. And not only that, but she was at the very bottom of the list, having scored absolutely nothing so far. Since the beginning, she'd been meditating, making Zigger doubt her approach. Meanwhile, Christa caught a lizard using a fireball. Christa then crossed paths with Lillian, who stood absolutely motionless as if unaware of Christa's presence. Zigger remarked that perhaps for Lillian, the score simply didn't seem to matter to her. Rhein held the 13th spot and mostly avoided fighting, advancing thanks to treasure gathering, which amazed the onlookers. Rhein traveled through mountainous zone C, which Carolyn noticed suited him, and Ellen jested, maybe he was a monkey once, but at this rate he wouldn't catch up, so what was he planning? Rhein then began to fall over the assembled participants. Everyone glanced up in approval. The rainy weather was great for creatures that relied on sharp hearing. The hunter saw this as an ideal chance to begin seeking their targets. At that instant, several fireballs lit up the sky over a mountainous peak. Lillian had finally chosen to act and start her move. Remaining meditative, she commanded the fireballs to seek out those in the current top 10. A volcano erupted behind her, and as her aura grew, she advanced calmly, declaring it was time to start. A broadcast alerted the students to the volcano now being active, urging evacuation from the danger zone. Clearly, this test couldn't end simply by students hiding until the conclusion. With the volcanic danger shifting safe spots, battling among students became inevitable. Some hooded observers noted the lead group's pace quickening, just as they'd foresaw. Logan claimed they would have succeeded if they hadn't lost their rhythm, while Christa blamed their lack of skill. At that moment, a robed figure told everyone to pause, catching a blur of motion from someone. It was Rhein. Lewick climbing scores with wild speed. When someone put him on camera, he stood among stone spikes and fallen monsters. Ellen was tense, sensing the boy was really about to make his move. Within the depths of a cave, cool droplets struck a gently shimmering pool. The beast approached for water, but hearing battle, it rushed straight toward the fray. Rein's score ranking started to fall rapidly, as if tracking seconds. Moretta called him fascinating, while Logan asked what was happening, and Christa revealed he lured the monsters using vibrations. Still confused, Logan listened as Christa guessed that this must have been Rein's aim all along. Barely evading the monster's claw, the boy pushed himself in battle. Pressed by encroaching beasts, he realized it was the right moment to act. Quickly, he drew a magic circle and launched a spell directly underground. In an instant, he impaled all the monsters at once with a flawless maneuver. Christa and Logan were astonished as Rhein skillfully used trees to defeat his foes. But Kyle realized the area had no trees, hinting at careful planning by Rhein from the start. Checking the boy's hunting score, one hooded figure saw it had reached an impressive 164. Caroline, nervous, marveled at how he cast 3-star magic that fast with so many monsters present. Ellen, proud as ever, declared that such feats were easy for her nephew. With a top score of 362 including Team A, the boy finished grinding aura and told himself it was time to stop. Kyle noticed the entire field looked covered by magma, with most monsters and treasures taken, leaving Gertrude little chance to catch up. Suddenly, Zigger called him over, and when Kyle inquired, Zigger said 2 students vanished from the list. Zigger checked if it might be a glitch, but Kyle insisted otherwise, and the teacher saw the proof was real. Kyle grew suspicious about the people behind them and sensed this went beyond normal eliminations. Such disappearances just didn't happen, not in the highest ranks. He asked a robed staffer to locate the students ranked 30th and 40th from 3 minutes before. The footage revealed a powerful fire spell engulfing one. What the staff saw terrified the teachers beyond belief. Facing the second student, the girl defends, but a spell drops her, cursing her foe as she falls. The teachers stand petrified, faces haunted by absolute fear and disbelief. As Rhein continues, the girl strides forward, unapologetically planning her victories. Defeating either the first or second-ranked opponent would already be an impressive feat. Terrified, Caroline and Ellen say the girl is frighteningly strong, and Marhenna warns that her nature makes her even more menacing. Studying the rankings, Gertrude wonders when Rhein surpassed her, notices Lillian close behind, and sees that spots 20 and 30 vanished. Fiery Bird hurtles at her and the girl sighs, admitting bewilderment at the chaos. The spell brings down her perch, and dodging swiftly, she just avoids destruction herself. Plummeting, she wonders what mysterious source had conjured those intense flames. Yet before she unravels the mystery, another spell races directly towards her. The blow knocks her down, and Christa, an observer of the duel, grows more anxious. Lillian approaches quietly, keenly noting that not a single ash remains behind. Gertrude suddenly kicks and Lillian narrowly dodges, both conjure water and fire in a dazzling clash. The incredibly balanced nature of their duel brings a surge of excitement to Christa. Undoubtedly, this battle embodies the spirit of fair competition. Lillian wonders if now might be the time to stop holding back and show her full effort. Gertrude responds, warning it is far too late for regretful reconsideration. Tossing a single leaf aloft, the redhead hints her strategy needs a whole new direction. Needs a whole new racing direction, a mighty firebird. She puts Gertrude to the test, forcing all her defensive skill. Gertrude states her outcome remains unchanged, regardless of how hard her rival strives. In an instant, Lillian snaps her necklace, scattering tiny shining spheres all about. Christa instantly recognizes a rosary, while Caroline is startled Lillian would use that. Rivendell Academy was famed among mid-tier mages who used talisman circles and swift calculations for magical advantage when seconds mattered most. Looking up, Gertrude spies a swarm of flaming insects conjured by Lillian above. Lillian clenches her fists and puts the flame insect spell into play. Suddenly, fiery insects whirl toward Gertrude, who shields herself using water magic. An explosion roars and Lillian stands firm, listening as the fire parts and makes a gap. Bursting forth, Gertrude swings a kick at Lillian, but Lillian dodges seamlessly again. Brandishing another talisman, the girl dooms Gertrude, but Gertrude launches a tree at her. Christa cheers and Gertrude dashes at Lillian, who responds with flames. Gertrude evades easily by leaping away, aided by her water magic. She springs in for a kick. Ellen marvels as Lillian evades again, making Gertrude crash. While still in the air, Lillian grabs another talisman and Ellen says Gertrude might get hit straight on. But as all believe the duel is decided, Gertrude carves a glowing magic circle on the ground. This sudden move leaves Lillian completely taken aback. With a sly grin, Gertrude conjures up a surging geyser of water. Knowing it's a water vein, Kai notes her skill, fitting of a Fetton's gifts for water magic and martial arts. This round, Lillian chose the worst rival, finding herself pinned to the earth. Gertrude warns that next time she'll shatter her arrogance if she overreaches and challenges again. Christa taps Logan. Gertrude explains as the girl's soaked clothes render her talismans useless. She gives a stern warning Lillian should surrender or risk a broken arm. Lillian grins, calling Gertrude naive and saying she wouldn't have spared her. Staring coldly, Gertrude grumbles that Lillian's chosen the most difficult path. Without a pause, Gertrude quickly fractures her opponent's arm. After resting on the ground, Lillian admits she used talismans not for calculation, but something deeper. Pressing a talisman to her tongue, she reveals she lacked control over her profound power. A dazzling light spills from her mouth. As Gertrude stumbles back, Lillian rises among fire insects. She gathers the insects, uniting them into a radiant flare that blinds Gertrude. As Gertrude dares to look, the swarm has formed a mighty serpent before her eyes. Lillian gestures and commands the serpent to consume her rival. Gertrude is stunned by its strength, admitting she never thought things would go this far. Flaming Serpent, largest among Rheindell's proud fire beasts, was Rhein, the founder's signature summon. This dragon was notoriously selective in choosing a master, and at 30% strength it remained incomplete. Ellen remarks that even at partial power, it's incredible for a 16-year-old to summon such a being. Trembling, Christa questions whether victory is possible, as if responding to silent doubts. Gertrude states plainly that this is where the real challenge lies. The enormous serpent lets out a roar as flames burst from its jaws in the next instant. Gertrude narrowly evades, yet her cloak ignites and she wonders how the fire reached her. She surveys the smoking aftermath and grasps the destruction the fire has left in its wake. Not only had the stones melted, they had vanished completely in the blaze. Gertrude, Logan, and Christa are shocked as they discover this is the serpent's hidden strength. Elsewhere in the forest, a loud blast marks another explosion's location. The girl runs desperately from a creature just as the serpent's fire engulfs it in the distance. The cloaked onlookers note that the serpent is persistently shadowing Gertrude. So Gertrude is clearly its chosen prey, and Lillian seems intent on seeing this through. Zigger turns to Kyle and worries the girl might be going too far, harming her even without killing her. If she gets struck by those flames, she could be severely hurt and left deeply scarred. He questions if the trial should be stopped, so Kyle turns to Marhenna and seeks her input. She raises a hand in assent and agrees it's likely the wisest approach now. Yet her eyes catch the sight of Rhein perched in a tree see over a burning forest. During training, Rei's grandfather warned that with his current mana, 3 uses were possible, fewer if faced with a stronger mage. He cautioned if Rhein pushed beyond that mana limit, he'd be completely drained in the end. Rhein knew to time his power right. Now, watching from above, since he'd gained enough points and his energy was nearly spent, he searched for refuge, not wanting needless risk. Still, he considers the girl's perspective and her struggle at that urgent moment. He refuses indifference, leaps down from the tree, and unleashes Bellidius into action. Observing carefully, Rhein notes that the magic formula features 5 rune-marked triangles for detection. As he falls, the boy intently observes the arcane craft of Lillian's magic. Straining deeply, he feels his vision blur as his eyes ache and begin to bleed. Battling Logan and the Spider Queen showed him that every hard-won victory refined his power, bringing him ever nearer to mastering 6-star magic, especially when facing strong foes. As danger nears the girl, Rhein ponders that the blow was truly aimed at him, not her. He knows the attack meant for him makes her mistaken to believe otherwise. Moments later, he neutralizes the powerful spell charging in the girl's direction. Breathless silence grips everyone, even Gertrude freezes, aflame and unmoving. Panic floods Lillian as she realizes the fiery serpent she summoned has been erased. Lending a hand in this test brought no gain, which, given tight limits, felt even stranger. Yet hidden from most, the exam secretly examined if candidates rose above self-interest. As she observes him, Morena quietly suspects Scalzi might be behind this outcome. With a gentle grin, she says the boy would doubtless achieve an exceptional score. Rhein spits blood, realizing dispelling a 5-star spell required more mana than he thought. It was ended, yet Rhein felt utterly depleted, as if his energy were poured out. Gertrude, now sitting, quietly calls Rein's name, seeking his attention. When Rhein sees her seated and unmoving, he urges her to hurry away, as Lillian hesitates. She realizes Fenton family spells don't fit her since she lacks enough mana for more serpents. Blaming the boy for the vanished serpent, she's torn whether he'll interrupt again, but if he's unguarded now, she must defeat him to secure first place. Summoning a second flame serpent, Lillian draws the notice of a hooded watcher because it's much smaller. Rhein narrowly escapes, diminished in size, yet the fiery strike keeps its menacing force. As Rhein faces danger, Ellen shouts a panicked warning for him to stay alert. Just as Lillian strikes, Gertrude emerges from behind, intercepting her move. Lillian whirls but is struck firmly in the gut by a burst of charged magic. She is hurled backward and scrambles to dampen the blow using what magic remains. Rhein is caught off guard, for he did not expect the girl's return in his defense. He asks Gertrude her reason for returning, and she replies that only as his rival can she protect Lady Christa, whose grief would overwhelm her if he were expelled. Outside, Christa blushes fiercely as whispers spread, then she hurries to declare they are just competitors. A tense Logan offers a thumbs up. Christa retorts if he wants trouble, and after his compliment, she loses patience and slaps him. Logan hits the earth while Christa, mortified, thinks Gertrude's fate is sealed once the test finishes. Still, she believes Rhein alone subdued the burning serpent. Legend says those who master the Elwig bloodline can wield all magic, though only thrice in centuries has someone achieved this, and always at great cost and age. Even then, from her observations, power was found only in frailty, as Gertrude tells a boy to go as only she should face Lillian. Rhein protests that Gertrude is gravely hurt, but Gertrude stands firm, stating she hasn't dealt with Lillian yet. She adds, truly he was just hindering her. And as Rhein begs her not to perish, she assures him it won't happen before blood-spattered Lillian grows confrontational. The mocking spirit, Gertrude bursts out laughing. To think Lillian, who initiated the whole feud, now demands that she be allowed to pass. The girl with vermilion hair declares every hindrance must be eliminated. She darts forward, her tongue flicking out, merging with the serpent's energy within her. In contrast, Gertrude advances with an unhurried grace, yet when they meet, it's violent. Rhein sprints into the woods to hide, but a sudden threat causes him to quickly evade disaster. Zigger wonders aloud about the attack, and Rhein spots a conniving band of new students plotting against him. Physically and magically exhausted, Rhein remarks his foes are low-level students at best. Rhein challenges their efforts, insisting they back off since even mighty Logan couldn't best him. Peace will follow if they choose wisely. One student praises Rhein's renewed strength, but questions why Rhein must bargain with the likes of them. Student soon conjures lightning magic and hurls themselves at Rhein. Rhein counters with his staff, the two locked in a tense clash of strength. The student asserts Rhein is at his limit and suggests surrender, questioning his resistance. With a resigned tone, Ellen notes such opposition always exists, though Caroline urges reconsideration. It's all tactical as an attacker's staff shatters, a reminder never to dismiss weaker combatants. Rhein falls as they're about to zap him, but he hurls dirt and Shan intercepts their vision instead. While his foe is blinded, Rhein lands a decisive and crushing punch to the student's face. This display unnerves the group, and the same student wonders how Rhein mastered Oarius fighting techniques. Ellen admits her curiosity as the cloaked youths note the foe can't retaliate since Rhein uses swift 3-star magic and the Oarius style. His technique is spotless, yet his control over mana still remains somewhat unrefined. Christa is leading, and one boy remarks Rhein beat the student without needing magic at all. Despite Rhein's apparent exhaustion, the group thinks a team-up could bring them victory. Delayan believes channeling Bellidius to vanquish the fire serpent completely depleted his reserves. The boys agree it's best to launch their assault one after another. Mara believes helping others is admirable, yet without power it's merely futile devotion. She is unsure of his intentions as our protagonist prepares to face them with dwindling energy. He launches a punch aglow with lightning, shocking every lesser student who charges at him. His performance earns visible admiration from the watching teachers. Zigger inquires about the boy's magic and resilience. Kyle clarifies Rhein used his weapon's lightning power, having no mana left. He held it in plasma, releasing a shock when rivals landed on the damp earth. Though understanding doesn't guarantee execution, Kyle finds the youth notably practiced. Another comments it's obvious why Rhein is ranked so high, but he seems out of resources now. Before he tells the others to seize the advantage, the mud-clad teammate proclamation comes with a strike and muddy armor. He boasts that he alone will handle Rhein, and Christa explains his muddy spell enhances only brute force, weakening teamwork. Encased in firm mud, he offers peace for Rein's points, promising nobody gets hurt. Without pause, our protagonist denies him immediately. He springs up, taunting Rhein about joking, while Rhein simply gives a resigned sigh. Landed, the contender asserts he'll expertly defeat Rhein. Yet in an instant, Rhein stands before him, ready to thrust his staff directly at him. After striking him with the staff, Rhein channels lightning to amplify the pain. As he drives him back, Rhein explains the Azarius staff style isn't to be underestimated, forged by a close companion. His rival, winded and aching, realizes Rhein retains determination beyond expectation. He questions if he misjudged Rhein's exhaustion, but then finally sees Rhein truly nearing collapse. He recalls that anyone who fails the test receives an F rank. In truth, the reason the faculty council watched closely was so they could later revise scores. It means how you act matters too, and since they lost to pure staff technique without mana, he'd face more than disgrace. He'd become the target of ridicule and might even be at risk of being expelled from school. Rhein mentions that if he survives, the dropout rate could lift him to rank E, C, or even B. Behind him, Lillian and Gertrude's battle is growing steadily more dangerous. Watching their fierce fight, Rhein says that with rivals at odds, this place might crumble soon. The exam was ending, and he had no intention whatsoever of joining that fierce duel. He urges the man to make up his mind, give up for a B rank or keep pushing and risk expulsion. Rhein tells him to decide quickly, just as a massive tree trunk slams to the ground near them. Startled and sweating, the man considers that B isn't so bad but feels it's actually below his talent. Panicking, he wonders if he's gone crazy, since quitting now would show everyone his fault. Honestly, anyone could tell the boy in front had nothing left, having spent all energy on the last attack. Finishing him now would claim the boy's points, and lacking other chances, he wonders why he hesitates since expulsion hangs overhead. He felt confident this was something he definitely could accomplish right then. Yet just before he charges, Rhein fixes him with an ominous freezing stare. Fear paralyzes the big man, and in that instant, Rhein shocks him with another surge of electricity. At that moment, the exam officially ends, and everyone is ordered to leave the barrier. Relieved the ordeal is finished, Rhein collapses, overcome by utter fatigue and unconsciousness. The big man, having been tense the whole time, relaxes and says he's glad it's at last finished. Carolyn whether Ellen felt nervous, and she replies calmly, not particularly. Though the teachers spot that Lillian and Gertrude had no intention of ending their fight. Kyle coolly remarks that it'll cost them points, but Zigger says, that's not important now, those two have lost their senses. Mara grumbles at the hassle of wrangling students, tapping her staff sharply against the ground. Thus she dispels the magical barrier from around the fighting grounds. Just as Lillian and Gertrude prepare to fight nothing, their senses return, and Marhanna grumbles about skill being useless if you're just a child before being reminded the test has ended and they must leave. Gertrude touches her cheek and finds every trace of injury has vanished. That's when she recalls everything was simply an illusion. This was the barrier's magic. As Gertrude glances at Lillian, Marina shouts at them to get out while she's patient. The stern instructor questions how many times she must repeat herself for them to listen. The cloaked group wonders how the barrier was broken since Group C's exam hadn't finished. Meanwhile, Marina suggests simply restoring the barrier again. As the students return to the lobby, Lillian asks the boy about what happened to Yaming. He claims ignorance, but she demands a real answer from him. Rhein insists she must first answer his own question. He queries whether she holds respect for her father. Her eyes narrow in anger. She asks if he wants to stir up trouble right there. Rhein denies it, and she questions his meaning. He says he thought they shared similarities since she wished to push a client to win by overcoming others just as her father expected. And the way she pushed others aside for her ambition reminded him of how her father acted. But if that's how she wants to live, words from him won't make a difference. And she reveals it was she who defeated the fire Amugi. Rhein warns her that if she continues like this, they will soon clash and he'll guide her in his way. Irritated, she demands how he would understand. He was raised in a joyful home where nothing was ever denied to him. When the group arrives, they see Logan and Christa already waiting for them. Gertrude, grinning, inquires if the girl is prepared to succeed. Christa, embarrassed, gives her a gentle scolding, saying she's definitely prepared and sometimes speaks without thinking. Rhein asks Logan what's happening, and Logan replies that it's nothing important. Christa admits she was nervous with all the attention, and Gertrude agrees that it's true. Christa says she'll keep her quiet now, then asks Rhein why he acted strangely before, accusing him of helping Gertrude escape the snake, though Rhein plays dumb. The boy wonders how he could cause that, suggesting Lillian's magical luck just ended, and Christa hesitantly goes along. He turns to Gertrude and insists that the girl deserves some form of discipline. Rhein strolls down cheerful, as Logan asks what has him grinning. Rhein laughs, saying he finds it amusing that he wouldn't have that memory had he not come, and Logan says that, true to rumors, Delayan is unlike other schools. Rhein agrees it's sometimes like that, and Logan becomes puzzled. Rhein thinks that if Esther hadn't left a message or if top students alone met Lynn, this experience wouldn't be his. He understands now Esther was right. This world did turn out to be truly mesmerizing. Gertrude silently observes Christa moving to speak with Lillian. Standing before Lillian, Christa mentions she did something rather notable involving her servant. Lillian seems uncertain about what Christa refers to. Christa warns that Lillian will repay that favor 100-fold, as wardens never ignore what they owe. Back at the academy, exhaustion overtook every student. Despite exhaustion, exams continued seamlessly as if all was well. On the fourth evening, they sat for a written assessment. The one on the fifth brought a test students labeled as pure torment. An ordeal even tougher than battle royale awaited them. Thus, the frenzied and relentless midterms finally concluded. When scores were revealed, Zyger announced 4 rank S students in both written and practical results. Those students were Christa Warden, Nara Redden, Kedden, and Rhein Luig. But since only one could top the ranks, a bonus point round was needed. To be fair, any evaluator with personal or educational links would not participate. Standard teachers could assign 1 extra point, and Professor Kyle gave 2. For Marhena, her evaluation totaled 3 bonus points. The teacher remarks that looking at her score makes the reasoning behind it quite plain. Another insists that's not the issue. Matt finds Nora more gifted while Caroline thinks flattery is at play and the teacher grumbles about it. As they continue their conversation, Zigger suggests discussing the present standings. Christa Warden leads with 6 points, with Nora, Katten, and Ray trailing behind closely. At this moment, he asks Assistant Professor Luke to cast his vote. Luke praises Krista's excellence, Nora's precision, and Katten's artistry, but ultimately votes for the magic's future. Zigger reads the tally in surprise, revealing that Rhein Luig gained 2 Assistant Professor votes, stunning the group. The instructors acknowledge Rein's talent, but note Krista's point advantage remains. The last vote is from Professor Marhena, known for rarely awarding extra points with her curmudgeonly refrain. Although Christa seems poised to win, Marhena grins and laughs, referencing the magic's future and Rein's charm. Luke replies that it is only due to the wisdom imparted by his mentor. Agreeing, she magically levitates a paper and pen, deciding to support the vote for magic's future. She writes on her note, leaving the other teachers visibly unsettled. The paper lands in Zigger's hand, leaving him completely at a loss for words. It is written that Rhein Luig achieved the year's best result among freshmen in the midterms. Rhein, back in his room, reflects on his expected progress as Rudin allows further study. He advances his unique magic by 0.8%, pondering how only battles seem to strengthen unique magic and wonders about that experience. Soon, it was time to leave once more. Years ago, Frida savors a magical draft and casts the flask aside, until called by a voice. Kyle requests a share. She insists there's none left, explaining fatigue kept her from saving any, having gone sleepless. He grumbles, cautioning Lynn, and wonders why she avoids her Red Mountain sanctuary upon journey's end. She intended to offer him Dragon's Breath, a rare elixir for his surging mana reserves. Kyle is incredulous, asking if she truly parts so easily with such a treasure. Freddy declares herself the priestess of the fire dragon Dakadan, recalling generous treatment on Red Mountain. Rhein reminds himself it was likely a well-meant gift, so he should accept it with respect. 3 centuries later, he admits the memory has not faded for him. It occurred during a single, relentless 18-hour ascent to the top of Red Mountain. When the fire dragon Dakadan brought his legion, mana filled the land over 1,000 years. Across the generations, the faithful and magic wielders made this land a sacred sanctuary. Rhein, weary and determined, continued upward until a voice abruptly halted his ascent. A stranger stood before him, questioning why Rhein was in such a hurry. Curiously, the man inquired if Rhein meant to pillage the mountain's treasures. Suspicious of the odd man, Rhein grew cautious while the stranger suggested less worry was needed. He remarked that the boy must have his reasons and warned that this place has claimed all looters for 3 centuries. Rhein wondered aloud if someone was inside, and as Rhein ate, the man claimed a demon summoned guards this spot. Rhein doubted that a true demon would protect a holy ground and questioned the logic. The man admitted honestly they just used the word demon out of habit. He confided no one really knows what dwells there. Once when he dared climb, he narrowly survived. With one more careless step, his life nearly ended right at the threshold of the mountain. Rhein had little patience for stories. He left before the man could even finish warning him. With a final word, the stranger urged Rhein to never approach if he treasured his own life. As Rhein moved on, he expressed his gratitude gratitude for the man's concern with a quick thank you. If a dreadful beast hid within, Rhein decided caution was now his chief companion. As darkness settled across the slopes, Rhein pressed forward through the night. Feral creatures sounded in the shadows. Spiders and rats were monsters Rhein despised meeting. In days past, Frey had once pointed out the group's supposed mage with mixed curiosity. Esther confirmed and gushed about his charm, while Fred insisted her bird had more appeal, to which Esther objected. Rhein protested being compared to birds, but Fried shot back in annoyance that Pippi is a parrot. Returning to the now, Rhein muttered wistfully about wanting Pippi's carefree spunk. After much trudging, Rhein at last found himself facing the ancient temple gates. He remarked how reaching the temple alone had thoroughly worn him out. Rhein hesitated about where to start and so chose the entrance, noticing that time spared not even the dragon's shrine. After pondering quietly, he notes that despite warnings, no demon's presence can be sensed here. He steps past the gates and suddenly a vivid burst of light flares above his head. Gazing upward, he discovers a magnificent phoenix soaring high above the temple roof. The beast launches at him as Rhein narrowly escapes, though his paper is scorched away by flame. Chanting a spell, he remarks that this is a rather harsh greeting for anyone to receive. A barrier leaps up before him, causing the bird to smack into it, shriek, and hastily retreat. Ray detects an odd quality creeping into the strange creature's pain-laden wail. Thinking back, he connects the fierce fire to Pippi the bird as it spews flames once more, and he ducks away. As he races, Rhein can't help but recall when the bird once set his hair alight. It seems impossible, with 3 centuries now gone, that such a meeting could happen. Still, perhaps it could be true, he thinks, turning anxiously to question if that heavenly bird is Pippi. Nimbly evading again, Rhein watches the phoenix slice by, sending a turbulent wind his way. With intense cries, Rhein insists repeatedly that his true name is Rhen. Just then clarity flickers in the bird, and it comes softly to rest beside Rhein. Rhein's presence awakens old memories, prompting the bird to reminisce days gone by. He reminds Pippi they vied for mascot, but the bird protests, the face is foreign so it cannot be Rhen. Enraged once more, the phoenix hurls fire, only to have Rhein douse it with a watery magical guard. Despite chaos, Rhein feels unexpected joy. After centuries, Pippi has somehow endured. Calling again, Rhein assures the bird that though his appearance changed, he's truly Rhen indeed. Yet the bird still refuses, launching another attack as Rhein defends, wondering how to prove it's him. He grasps the need for a secret memory, something to convince the bird beyond all doubt. Sudden recollection makes Rhein weave a new water spell at once. He hurls it at the fiery bird, knocking it down, and immediately shapes twin circles of energy. Reaching out yet again, he conjures a water sphere and pleads for true recognition. That's all for now. If this tale moved you, consider giving a like. Until we meet again, farewell for now.